In this video, part 3 of our 4-threat tier list, we're going to be going through the rest of the characters and ranking them accordingly. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Big Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. Welcome to this, the third and indeed final part of our 4-threat breakdowns. It seems like you guys have really been enjoying them, whether you agree, disagree, or want to murder us. But joining me, as always, to go through this epic breakdown is Mr. Quinn Duggan. Quinn, how the hell are you doing, sir?
I mean, I'm all right. I'm safer from the people that want to murder us than you are. I've got Ron.
This is true. This is very true. You growing your hair out for like Lord of the Rings MESBG coming out? Is that what you want to make yourself look more like a wild man?
I'm trying to go like as wild man as I possibly can. Yeah.
So 4-threats, Quinn. Obviously, we've done a lot of these already. We don't need to go through, but just a quick, gentle reminder for everybody, just of the rankings and what they mean, because I think sometimes the reasoning behind the placement are the rules that we've put behind the actual rankings themselves. So starting down in D tier are going to be characters that we believe are in serious need of a rework and need something doing to them. C tier are going to be in there for one or two reasons. They might need a little bit of a tweak to their kit, or it might be that they have got, models ahead of them in terms of how viable they are. So that could be that, the affiliations they are in, there's a 4-threat that is just way better than them, so it just bumps them down that little bit. Or it could be, as we get with a lot of these now, Quinn, that there are other characters with the same name that just do the job much, much better. Now, if that's a character that does, you've got two characters and they both do different jobs, then that's different horses for courses. But especially if your other named person is at the very top, you're going to really struggle. B tier, and I want to make this one really clear. B tier are perfect, are perfectly fine characters. There's nothing wrong with them. We wouldn't change anything. Maybe with the exception of one being Iron Man, we make him less boring and less copy and paste, but they're going to be the characters that are, in that middle of the bell curve. It's where most of the characters should sit. A tier are going to be very good characters. You may see them splashed a lot, or it may just be that they do such a good job because of a leadership that they bring that is just head and shoulders above everybody else, on top of them being a really good character. If you're a really good, if you're a high B as a model, as a character, and you've got a great leadership, that is going to bump you up. And then S tier is reserved for those characters, a little bit like the opposite of D tier, who we think need a nerf, right? They are just too good in the game. And I know that we've had some potential candidates in there. We spoke about Bill, we spoke about Dynamo. We've already given our reasons why we don't believe they are broken. And then actually it's other things in the game that are breaking, or is giving the perception that they that they are broken. But Quinn, I know you wanted to talk about leadership, and I know in particular leaders. I did sort of cover it there a little bit, but this I gather is like the whole Blade being in D and Kingpin being in A.
There's a lot of people, who, there's outcry regarding Blade's placement. And there's a lot of comparison between Blade and the Ancient One, for example, because they do have very similar builders. In fact, Blade is actually a little bit better because it does automatic bleed.
Yep.
The main thing that I want to touch on here is that whilst this is a 4-threat tier list and, we're judging all of the characters, not all characters are created equal in the sense of their responsibilities and their roles within the game, right? Leaders, in particular, have a pretty big burden put on them because, depending on your affiliation, a lot of the affiliations only have one option for a leader, right?
Yes.
And, if you're not playing with your own leadership and your affiliation, that's over half the reason for playing the affiliation gone in most cases. And I think because of that, and because of the responsibility of having a leadership, it artificially inflates a character's pick rate, right? Because the character probably might not be someone that you want to run every game, but because they have that leadership and you feel an obligation to play them in order to actually get the most out of your affiliation, you kind of just have to suck it up. And
yeah, I also think, and I also want to point something out in that an affiliation can be amazing. It can have a great win rate. It can be doing really well at events. That doesn't necessarily mean that the leader of that affiliation is good. I will go back to not the Steve one that we have now, but the original Steve. Avengers were a great affiliation. Why? Well, they had access to one pretty good tactics card in Avengers Assemble. Board wide, everyone move if you want. They had access to a great leadership in Steve One's leadership, and they had a roster of characters that meant you never had to take out, or very rarely had to take out of affiliation. Yeah. Taking his leadership away, Steve One, the old Steve One, was not the thing that made Avengers good. Just like if you take away the leadership from Blade, Blade is not the thing that makes Midnight Suns good, right? He brings a good leadership, but as you said, Quinn, not everyone's created equally. And I think we do, we do treat leaders a little bit more harshly, right? Because as you say, you often have to take them. They're the linchpin. And if they're a character you have to take, you want them to be... They don't have to be A tier. They don't have to be S tier.
They have to be something that you don't feel bad about playing. Like, you don't want to feel obligated to play them simply because of leadership. You want to be like, oh, this model's actually quite good, and I get a leadership on top of it. Yeah. And because of that, there's a much wider range that a given leader character can inhabit compared to a normal character, because
absolutely.
A subpar leader is kind of equivalent to a bad normal character because of the effectively forced pick rate, right?
Yeah, and, absolutely.
Vice versa, a really good leader with a good leadership goes above another, solid model because they effectively, by virtue of having that leadership and being in that affiliation, make everything around them better.
Hence why you've got characters like Fisk and like Black Panther up towards the top end of A tier. Yes, you don't see those characters splash, but as we say, there are a number of different things that you can do and have to be considered A tier. And lastly, guys, in our opinion, okay, I know we joke about it and say no, we are no. Right? It's our opinion, okay.
Well, yours is an opinion, mine is fact. That's always how the show's worked.
There we go. Right, Quinn, with all that said and done, let's jump in to the first one. And we've got quite a lot to get through, so we're going to try and get through them a little bit quicker than normal. There's maybe a couple that we want to talk about a little bit more, but Omega Red, Quinn, Arkady Grigorovich Rossovich. I like Omega Red. I just wish he was a little bit better.
I wish he was just a touch faster.
A touch faster would be nice. He does have an end snare, so it does help him. He is quite a tanky character.
He's surprisingly tanky, yeah.
I think, Quinn, that they have messed up. And I think if they made this change, it wouldn't be the be-all and end-all. But Red Terror. And this has confused so many people because it's one of the worst worded attacks in the game. So Red Terror, you basically get to choose, is it energy or is it physical? And then Absorb Essence. Change one of the defending characters' crit, wild, or hit or block results to a fail. This character gains 1 power for each die changed in this way. Now, if we look at, and I know this isn't reverse Pierce, Quinn, this is a Pierce, right? But it does a little bit extra. If we look at reverse Pierce, let's go back to Bishops, right? Sure. Where he can change multiple dice with wilds and gains a power for each one that he does. This one is only one. You could roll 6 wilds and you only get to modify 1 dice. But because of the wording on the other side, it makes it sound really bad. I would have loved him to have the thing of, do you know what? He gets to do it as many times as he wants. And if he spikes and he rolls 4 wilds, hey-ho, it's tough.
I could see maybe, if they did do that, maybe you reduce it to like a range 2, just because there is that little risk. And it also actually give him a nice home in affiliations like Steve, First Avenger, right? And, your MODOKs and your M'Bakus of the world.
Yeah, definitely. He's got a cool little thing with his death spores and things like that. It does affect him, even though he's, again, badly worded, old card. Is this the one that does? Yeah, at the end of this character's activation, enemy characters within 2 gain the special condition, but then enemy characters at the end of the activation within 2 gain the poison. And then it's death factor, isn't it? There we go, it's death factor. This character...
Death factor's just missing a comma.
Yeah. So it is this character, comma, and enemy characters within 2. I mean, the places where he should be, Winter Guard, Criminal Syndicate. Again, we don't really consider Cabal to be an affiliation.
Yeah.
He's just outshone. Like, he really is outshone. Drain life, right? Having a 1 chip heal on your builder is quite nice.
On a character with built-in reduction as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost doubling it up, isn't it? Again, immune to poison. When the Terrigenesis went away, his value dropped quite significantly.
He's a good Hydra pick.
Yeah, he's not a bad Hydra pick, actually, is he? Because he does do quite a bit in terms of dishing out that poison.
He can heal in the opponent's turn as well, which just amps up that tankiness.
Yeah. Carbonadium Synthesizer, Quinn, his card. Omega Red may play this card. Remove all special conditions, and then you heal 1 and gain a power for every special condition that you've removed. It's just not good enough, is it? It's not
Children of the Atom, but it's locked to him.
Just him. Yeah.
Great.
He doesn't have to pay anything for it, but even so. So I think Omega Red needs a little bit of help. Nothing too crazy. I'm in my head, Queen. I look at it and I go, do you know what? Agent Venom probably does a bit more than him. I probably prefer him to Emma. I feel like in that C tier sort of region, in between Venom and Emma, unless you've got anything to add that would sway either way.
I mean, it feels pretty reasonable. Like, Emma's mostly there because of my discontent at her state in this game, but she's not moving. She's staying there.
She's not moving. And Sequin is for?
Carbonadium armor. I am from Finland.
Yeah, I was going to say, and whereabouts in the Nordics are you from? Professor X, Quinn, Charles Xavier, the latest... There we go. The latest leader for X-Men. It does a whole bunch of mystic stuff, as you would expect. Yeah. He's got some okay attacks, right? The fact that Mental Suggestion needs to do damage...
And his range 3.
I think is a little rough. The root on the Psychic Dart is quite nice. Does he also suffers from throws as well, doesn't he? He can't use his mystic.
Yeah, he can't magic things away with his brain.
Yeah, which, as we spoke about, does feel a little rough on quite a few of them. His leadership, let's spend a little bit of time on his leadership, Quinn, because obviously it's a bigger thing. Once per turn, when a character or an allied character spends one or more power to use an active or reactive superpower, after the effect is resolved, another character may gain one power. And we spoke about it on this channel. You've probably heard it other places. You can start a chain effect. So the idea is you have somebody, Nightcrawler is a great example because he can spend one power, turn one, to be able to do a little bump or a place. And then you can give power then to somebody else who maybe needs 2 power to do their thing first, or a charge or whatever, throw, whatever it is, and then they do that, and then it can go to somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. So it's a way of being able to turn on round one abilities that otherwise wouldn't be there.
And then beyond that, it just kind of helps power economy, right?
Exactly right. You want to feed some power into whoever it is to be able to do whatever. It just pumps the power into them that they need. He's got some rerolls in there as well. It is another character. It doesn't work on himself, and it is obviously once per turn, which again is fine. It's an X. I always like the X superpowers, Quinn, because you only need to spend what you want to spend, right? It's one of the reasons why I like Cable's throw, for example, even though it's not an enemy character, spend X, and where X is equal to the power. I think he's fine. Like,
I quite like him.
I don't think he is the he's not the Charles Xavier I think that at least I wanted and people wanted. I thought he was.
You were in the 5-threat camp, right?
I was in the 5-threat camp. Yeah,
I was in the 3-threat camp.
You thought very much back. Leave him on the Quinjet.
Oh no! Like, he can be in the field and stuff, but he's more of a story character than he is a fight, action character, right?
Hey, he gets his legs. He gets his special magic legs when he goes and gets married.
Sure, he can have his magic legs. I don't think having magic legs would actually help him in terms of being in a fight.
No, neither do I. So where do we think he goes, Quinn? So, let's look at the other. Do we think it's hard to say, isn't it? Is he a better leader than Scott? Because they're so different in terms of play style.
They're so different, but also incredibly similar at a base level in terms of turning things on round one. It's just they do it in very different ways and therefore build very different comps around them. To be honest, I think he's probably better than Scott. Because as much as Scott is the way I like to play X-Men because he's more attrition focused, Scott does rely on a degree of luck to actually get that damage through early doors to then start the chain. Xavier doesn't really care. And given the tools that the X-Men have available to them in terms of the first class? First
class. Yeah, first class is the one. Yeah. And to me, my X-Men as well.
And to me, my X-Men really does help. Obviously, he's got a bit of a weakness in terms of collisions because he can't do anything to save himself from that. Telepathic lock's pretty good, if they don't have the power or don't want to pay, because 6 dice is a lot defensively. I'm feeling like he's on that he probably makes it to that top rung of B for me, just about.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And I'm looking at it and I'm sort of going, is he in and around MODOK? Does he bump down Nick Cage? Does he bump down Nick Fury into that bottom rung?
I really want a movie where we have Nick Cage play Nick Fury Senior now.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'm feeling
he's either bumping down Nick or he's he's either side of Nick for me. I feel he's probably actually better than MODOK thinking
Yeah, I
about
was
it. Like,
thinking that as well.
he's pretty good. Like,
He's a good lad, isn't he?
he's an all right lad. I'd have liked some kind of sap on him, but that would have felt a bit
That,
generic, in fairness.
yeah, that would have really helped him as well. But yeah, and B Quinn is 4.
Brother of the Year. Thought that one would get you. Yeah, we
I
had
like
crappy
it.
carbonadium coils, and now we're back in S tier.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, Quinn, on to Psylocke next. And actually, just a quick one. You probably noticed the screen has moved. We've just shimmered around the tier list. No actual characters have been moved. It was just to make more space and make sure it stayed on the
Or
on the screen.
maybe that's
Or
what
maybe
want
we
you to
did.
think. And we've
Yeah, maybe we
changed
did.
everyone. Go back and check. Go on.
Go watch the other 2 videos again and double check. Yeah.
And don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Yeah. Ring the bell.
In X-Force, in Uncanny X-Men, but I feel like, Quinn, she has found a great home as Death and or Famine in Servants of the Apocalypse.
But Famine especially, like
Famine,
just the amount of places and movement. Or...
Yeah, and she's already got a lot of movement, right? She's already got, a pursuit on a Cybo. Yes, it needs a trigger, but it is a hit, so it's, it's the easiest one to get. Even that telekinetic combat enhancement, short move, and then you're boosting your builder to a 7 dice builder that can be energy or mystic. Like that's pretty darn good. Martial artist and stealth, so she's got that really nice thing of characters need to be within, a certain range so that they can actually attack her, but she doesn't get the benefit of anything. Brings a couple of cards as well. She actually part of 3 cards, so she's part of Battlebound, which is her team up card with Archangel. We've got Crimson Dawn that actually gives her healing factor. But this card I think has gone down in value because of another card disappearing, Quinn, in the form of exceptional healing. And then she also has psionic constructs, when an allied target character within 3, or when an allied target character within 3 of an allied Psylocke targets an enemy character with an attack, she spends 2. It is now mystic, and they can reroll any number of dice. Again, I don't think any of her cards are bad. I just think they get eked out by some others that are available.
Crimson Dawn used to see a bit of play if you already had like a couple healing factor characters and were taking exceptional, but with the loss of that and the introduction of its pathetic successor, not so much.
Yeah, not quite as good, to say the least. I quite like her, Quinn. I quite like her. Only 3/4, right? So, a little bit lacking in the defense department, but she does count blanks with martial artist, and she does have stealth, meaning that she's not susceptible to those long range attacks. So you've got to be up close and personal. She also
can pay for rerolls.
She can pay for rerolls. Yep. Which is, again, it's an X. It's quite nice. Psionic Assault is one of the few attacks in the game that does the condition before damage is dealt, and it's stun. So if she spikes with that, they're not gaining any power. I quite like her, Quinn. I quite like her.
I really like her. Also, I think it's worth mentioning her roles in other places, right? Like X-Men. Because when she came out, wasn't super, hot off the presses in terms of, seeing her everywhere in those affiliations. But I think she's found more of a home as time has gone on with releases like Professor X, right? Because he feels like the leader for Psylocke in that affiliation.
Yes, definitely. Especially with her access to, being able to spend 1 power on a superpower, and you get that back. Now, obviously, Psylocke doesn't get that back, but somebody else gets it. And she's got active and reactive superpowers as well. So she can generate both in your turn and your opponent's turn as well. So doubling up on it. I think she's good. I think she's really good.
I'm excited to play her in Marvel Rivals when that launches.
There you go. There you go. How good is she, Quinn? Because I don't feel like she's up in the A tiers, right? She's not that
Not
good.
quite. But she's on that top rung of B again, I think.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Gamora and Medusa, and sort of in that kind of area, really. I think
She's a very similar character to Gamora in a lot of ways, right? You've got the whole Gamora has stealth now, right? That's the thing.
yeah, Gamora's got stealth. She's got martial artist.
No, she's got martial prowess.
Martial prowess, not martial artist. Yeah, not quite the same. The same but different.
Like high dice spenders. They both have ways of moving without spending actions in their turn. I think if you do a direct one-to-one comparison, I think I'd argue the case for Psylocke to come out on top.
I think the thing with Psylocke is she can be more useful in more places. I think
more useful in more places, and they're very similar, but I think she just ekes it out.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with that. And B Quinn is for
bloody Braddocks going around stealing Asian people's bodies. What a weird origin for a character.
I know.
It's so strange. I'm really glad that they've moved away with that from Rivals, and she's just actually, a person and not just a weird meat puppet.
Just a normal person, yeah. Cool, Quinn. On to we've got Double Red Skull coming up next, but let's start with the newer one from the newer core box, Master of the World, aka Johann Schmidt.
Oh yeah.
He does a whole bunch of stuff, but essentially his leadership, my Cabal is only for the strong, obviously leader of the Cabal, once per turn. While a non-grunt allied character is rolling dice as part of an attack roll, it may treat one failure as a crit result. If it does, after the attack is resolved, the attacking character loses 1 power. If it does not lose power, it gains or it suffers a damage instead. So the losing power isn't optional. You can't choose to not lose the power, but if you can't lose the power, you then take a damage instead. Worth pointing out, Quinn, the timing on this. It's at any point during the attack roll. So a lot of people think, oh, well, it's only when I'm rolling, my crits or exploding my crits at that point. If you explode a crit and that crit explodes into a failure, you can count that failure as a crit. If you re-roll something into a failure, you can count that as a crit as well. So it's a much, much lesser version of Reality Gem.
It's offensive Reality Gem, right?
It's just offensive, and there's a kicker on the back end. He's got a throw. 3 power for size 3, range 3, medium.
3 power that might not be spent by him, though.
3 power that may not be spent by him. So let's talk about that quickly, Quinn, because it is a key part of his.
It's also got a very
really, isn't it?
Disappointing ruling, I believe.
Yeah, so power is only for the one who rolls. When this character spends power to make an attack action or to use a superpower, it may spend power for the attack or superpower from an allied character within 3 of it. Now, there's a couple of weird things here, Quinn, and I want to make sure we get them right because it was quite a big ruling at the time. So we've got 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, he's going to make an attack. And then scenario 2, he's going to use a superpower. Now, I believe that one of them requires him to have all of the power available when he declares it, and the other one doesn't. And I can never remember which way around it is.
I would assume it would be the attack, because the attack process is a much more fleshed out and codified thing.
The thing I was
talking about was how he can't spend some from himself and some from someone else, which I always thought was a bit miserly on AMG's part. It would have been nice if, he could pay two and someone else pays another two for nothing is beyond my reach. But you have to take it all from one source, I believe.
Let's find the ruling on this. Okay, guys. So we've just to make sure that we are getting this absolutely right. I just want to bring this up here. I just want to bring this up here really quickly because there's a few different things that are said on here as part of that. So here we go, Quinn. For Red Skull, Master of the World superpower, power is only for the one who rules. These clarifications apply. Red Skull must spend at least one power when benefiting from this superpower. If paying for an attack, Red Skull must have the full power cost available up front. Then it says a little bit extra, but that's fine. Red Skull can split the spent power between himself and another character. He may not split between himself and multiple other characters.
Right, okay.
This superpower is innate, so root doesn't apply to it. This means root on the allied character will not force an additional power spend if Red Skull is using an active or your active superpower. Blah, blah, blah. Leaderships are not attacks or superpowers. They cannot benefit from this innate one. And then dazed allies cannot have their, pretty standard there. Dazed allies cannot contribute towards it. So
yeah.
There's a few scenarios there, but the high level one is if it's an attack, even if he's going to spend other people's, he needs to have the full power himself. He has to spend at least one power for anything, and he can split between himself and an ally, but he can't split between himself and multiple allies. So yes, because that's been one of the most, I would say, difficult. What's the word?
Of the new core
rulings
box, I think
of the
so.
new core box. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got access to a couple of different cards. He's got Cosmic Obliteration, which, remove all special conditions from him. Then choose one non-dazed enemy character within 3 for each power spent. Each chosen character gains Hex, Root, or Incinerate, which is quite nice. It's a little bit like a Whims of Chaos, but not quite as good. And then he's got access to Victory Assured, where he can spend damage to play a card. Not the best. Not the best to say the least, but yeah, I gather as a last Hail Mary. I feel like, Quinn, this version of Red Skull is very much not the default, but the most commonly taken Cabal leader at the moment.
And I think he also kind of exemplifies one of Cabal's big issues, right? Which is just they tend to be the home for whatever people are abusing at any given point. Whether it be a Malekith or a Thanos or a MODOK or a whatever else. Throughout the game's history, it's always been the place where those more heinous rosters reside, right?
Oh, I don't know. I think Emma probably takes that one in modern days. Well, but I do.
Emma had it in her day, but because Cabal's existed for the entirety of the game, I think historical title it gets it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even back in the very early days of Drop-Off, right, with Ultron and Venom, I remember that being a thing when it got released. So I think he's definitely the best Cabal leader at the moment for his threat level. I think his leadership's pretty good, right? It's pretty good. His actual card itself is fine. Like, he's not exceptional by any stretch, but I don't think anything needs changing on it drastically.
He's got a pretty good builder. Like,
his builder that can be energy or mystic.
Choose type, damage equal to, and wild shock are all things I like to see on a builder.
Yeah. Reality Bows is okay, but it feels bad if you don't get the triggers off.
Yeah, and I guess his leadership is there to try and help offset.
To help with that. Yeah, to
the
help with
odds of that. Yeah.
But I think he's fine as a leader.
Yeah.
I think he's fine as a character, and I think his leadership bumps him up. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of where
He's like
he's at.
mid B character, and then bump from the leadership puts him probably high B.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking, and because that leadership I think is so good, Quinn. I think he almost gets a bit of the Steve One treatment in that it does bump him up quite a bit. I mean, I'm looking around. You know, is he overall better than Daredevil in terms of what he
Yeah, and I
brings
think
and
like
what he does?
Daredevil and Steve One are kind of the goalposts, as it were, for him, right? Because they are leaders that are in that same kind of area of the tier list, and
Yeah,
I think he
and
probably is better than Daredevil.
it's like for me, it's like either side of Logan.
Yeah, I think he's closer to Steve.
I think there's probably about right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And B Quinn is 4.
B is for bloody hell. Where's your skin gone, mate?
Where's your skin gone, mate? Okay, other Red Skull now, Quinn. So the original Red Skull, who has
Sad
had,
skull.
yeah, very sad skull. Look, he is okay as a character, like, but
What one cost on that cosmic blast is archaic in this day and age.
yeah, it really is. It really
ugh.
is. Are there any other attacks in the game that cost power and generate power other than I'm going to boost my builder? I don't. Sorry, yeah, I don't
I think there is somewhere. I think there's someone else who has like a beam that has sap but costs power.
Okay, maybe.
I think there's someone like that, and like in the deep recesses of my memory, that's a thing that exists.
Now, the good thing is, Quinn, is that if you are taking this version of Red Skull, there's only one reason you're taking him, really, and that is Master of Evil. Each time an ally character.
True.
Oh, well, yes, we'll get on to that. Each time an ally character damages an enemy character with an attack, after the attack is resolved, you get a power. So it doesn't matter if it's a builder, a spender, a beam attack, you get a power after every one of them.
Infinite Nightcrawler attacks. Whoa.
And it does work, but I wouldn't try it in a game. Unleash the Cube, Queen, is fine. Like, it's an unrestricted, short, omnidirectional throw.
Yeah.
But it does need to do damage, right? That is the kicker of it. I think he's
Reality
fine.
Warp being able to stun himself is always funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is true. He does bring some cards, Quinn. Well, he does bring one card that he exclusively has access to. And that is Cosmic Invigoration, which is an interesting card. But if Red Skull is within 2 of another allied character with an activated token, they may spend 2 power each to play this card. So it costs 4. Remove the activated token from the allied character and roll 3 dice. For each crit, hit, and wild, the character suffers 1 damage. The character that you're essentially reactivating. Doesn't need to be used during his turn. And, you know, let's say you take Thanos as an example. Thanos gets to go again.
Yay!
Which, you know, back in the old days, Quinn, when Time Gem was a thing, so Thanos was getting 3 he was getting 3 actions. It was a little bit crazy. Now, what this card giveth, Quinn, it also taketh away. Because in a game where right now going wide doesn't feel like it's the meta, big boys, 3 big boys, and one of the things that you want to do always there is keep priority. This card can be good, but can also be bad as well, because if you lose priority, that's generally not a good thing. but it's not a bad card at all. Like it's a pretty decent card. So he's got a good leadership, Quinn. He's got an okay leadership.
Okay leadership. Okay to subpar card.
Yeah.
Let's not say subpar. Let's say dated, because that's
Dated,
what it
yeah,
is,
very
right?
very much dated. Yeah, very much dated. Brings a really nice tactics card with him, but has another character in the 4-threat spot who he is competing against. And then another character who's 5-threat, who luckily isn't a Cabal leader. He's the Hydra leader. And the thing I'm going to say, Quinn, is that take off the 1 power cost for Cosmic Blast, and I think he's fine. Like, I think he'd be absolutely fine. I mean, let's be honest, power generation is not...
Cosmic Blast was like a flat 1.
Yeah.
Like, you gain 1 and you've got the potential for more, but it's got the higher range.
But I think a little bit like Steve won, Quinn. I think if you were building around Red Skull, you could build a roster that was competitive,
something that worked,
and could work. And as I say, he's not bad as a character. He just, like you say, dated is definitely the verbiage that I would use. So with all that said and done, Quinn, I mean, he's obviously not anywhere near his counterpart or his namesake.
He's not in the same tier as his counterpart, let's be honest.
So he is in that C tier. But I think he's up towards the higher end of it. Like,
I think, like, and I was scanning the list and was like, oh, where am I seeing him? And like, there was one character that stuck out that is somewhat similar because, you know, that they're a leader, that they're in that C tier, and they need just that little bit of help.
You're looking at Killmonger.
I was going for Goblin.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think he's just below Goblin because obviously Goblin doesn't have the clashing identity issue.
Both good tactics cards that they bring. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that.
Also, that the more I dwell on it, the more I think I have to correct something with the list at present.
I'm going to see which of your failures
There's only
you want
one
to correct.
failure. And it's AMG's failure, not mine, because they're royally...
It's Emma, isn't it?
It's Emma. She probably isn't actually in C tier, but... Look, she's not C tier in the tier list. She's D tier in my heart.
I think that's about.
I think we could have her like hanging out next to Rumbaku, right? Both leaders just chilling out together.
I think that's fine. Yeah. And Sequin for Red Skull
is for claret-coloured skin.
Excellent. Rhino next.
Where were we ranking that alphabet game? Because it got all the action, but I'm not sure whether it was a good one.
It feels like a cop-out, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Rhino Quinn, Alexei Sistovich, a man who I would have loved to have been in Winterguard. He has a Russian name, why not? Look, Rhino is still very good. Very good. Very, very good indeed.
He's not S tier anymore.
No. Don't be put off by the fact that he only has one attack. It doesn't matter. Why is he really good? Well, he gets about the board just everywhere. His throw is fine. It's a way of him being able to dump power, right? But he's very mobile. Can boost that attack that he has. Reduces damage. Gains extra power when he takes damage as well. But one of the reasons why he's very good, Quinn, because of one of his two tactics cards, and it's not Rhino in a China shop. It's Rhinobbery.
This is a Rhinobbery.
During Rhino's activation, he may spend 4 power to play this card. Choose an enemy character within 1. Don't worry about that. His builder places him within 1. That is holding an objective token. The chosen character drops any objective tokens it is holding, so everything. And then Rhino throws the chosen character medium. Now, Quinn, there is one big counter to this, and that is Indomitable. Because Indomitable stops the throw, therefore it stops the drop as well, I believe. Because I'm sure I've read that, but I'll clarify that in the comment section.
No, it used to be that when mission objective was in the game.
Mission objective is the one, yes, stopped the thing. Yeah. So Indomitable doesn't stop the drops, but it does stop the throw, obviously. So actually, this card, Quinn, whilst it costs more now, it has had its full counter taken away. Yeah,
but I think the greatest strength of this card and cards of its ilk, and ilk is very much the word because I do not like cards like this. I don't like extracts in general, but this is even worse. Cards like this depreciate in value the later in a game they are used.
Yeah.
For the most part, because the earlier you take that objective off someone, the quicker you upset the balance of VPs, the more rounds you have to actually capitalize on that advantage and run away with the game, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It going from, I believe, 2 power to 4 is huge. Because, in the old days, you'd walk up to someone with Rhino who'd you walk up to someone who's taken a midline objective, you attack, you gore them. If you get 2 damage through, or if you get 1 and you've got some other source of power or something to help you along the way, you then rob them and then pick up the token yourself, right?
Yeah. Or you're in Hellfire Club and you use them as leadership during his turn. Yeah. What I will say, Quinn, is if there are going to be steals, this isn't a steal, but I put it in the steal category. This is how they should be. They should be single use.
This is definitely a steal. A steal isn't necessarily just you move the token from one card to another, right?
Yeah.
Because Miles is a steal.
Yeah. But my point is that this is the way they should be done. One time use,
and done.
And they're done.
One and done and fairly costed, mind you.
Yeah. Yeah. Spider Foes and Crimson, but you see him, I would still say to some extent, you see him in a lot of places. Not as much, but still a lot of places. He's very good. The extra power it now costs means that he can't do it as early unless he spikes, which is fine. So he's definitely in that A tier, Quinn. What I will say is, I think he's I don't know how high up on the A tier he is. And I'll tell you for why, is that he has one trick. And it's a very good trick, but it's a one and done.
Yeah.
Whereas, Dynamo is consistently dishing out those rerolls. A bit like Killmonger, right? Killmonger has one trick and it's a one and done. Now, arguably, Killmonger's trick has a little bit more impact because dazing or KOing a character upsets the balance a lot more than just taking an objective. And let's be honest, when Killmonger does his trick, he gets to take the objectives anyway. So it doesn't really...
SCPs for it.
Yeah. So he's definitely up there. I just don't know where he sits anymore because it is that little bit less accessible round one.
I think it's also interesting with Rhino in terms of what the current meta is, because we're still in the dark reign of Asgard at the minute. Long live Loki. And just I think that diminishes him to a degree in the current meta because there are effectively, the top dogs have access to a lot of throws.
They do.
In any meta where the top dogs don't have access or don't utilize a lot of throws, his stock goes up because he can throw people with Rhinobery, and he's got a size 4 terrain throw, and he can throw out like 7 dice attacks at people. He can actually do a decent amount on an attrition front, whilst being an absolute brick in and of himself.
Yeah.
Like, every time I see him across the table, I hate it. Like, I know I can kill him, but I know it's going to be it's going to be far more effort than it's worth.
I tell you what he does, and you're absolutely right. He is, if you see him, you have to, he's a character that if he's on the board, you have to do something about him.
He demands an answer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, that alone puts you up. I'm looking and I'm like, I feel like he maybe cuts Dynamo and Bishop.
I was thinking either side of Dynamo.
Yeah. Well,
the reason that I think he could fit to the other side of Dynamo is because Dynamo is pretty much exclusively used on E and C maps.
Rhino can be
used everywhere apart from arguably Researcher, which is restricted, and also, depending on what you're up against, he's still good on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's leave it this way around for the moment, and we'll come back and see. We'll see how it pans out. An Aquin is for.
That's the sound of him charging a wall.
Nice. Have you seen the new Rhino in the Craven trailer? He's
right,
not
you know how you trailed off during even asking that question?
Yeah, I know. I realised.
Yeah, I'm just going to let it keep on trailing, and maybe Craven will follow the trail and be like, I'm Tangerine from Bullet Train.
Rogue next, a.k.a. Anna Marie Lebeau. A character I know you've played a lot with, Quinn, over the years of her coming out. I don't know what it is with her. She has everything. She's got everything that she needs on a card. I would say the one thing she doesn't have is access to a character throw superpower. But guess what? For 3 power, she can do it with Southern Hospitality anyway, so that's kind of fine. Charge. She can choose what attack type it is. It's power equal to damage dealt and a sap. Mutant absorption.
Note, you always pick energy because the physical absorbing strike rolls terribly. And I genuinely mean this. I saw a genuine uptick in performance with Rogue when I decided I was never going to use it as physical again.
Fair. Mutant absorption is really nice, right? It's another way of being able to either just take power from a big guy or get some extra damage through. She's reducing damage dealt, immunity to poison. Again, we spoke about how that's less relevant. Flight as well with a medium move is nice, but I don't know what it is. It just feels like there are much better 4 threats than Rogue in any of the affiliations where she is.
She has fingers in all the pies, but she's not actually managing to, take any of them off the windowsill.
Jack of all, master of none.
Still better than a master of one, but
Southern Hospitality, that's a 3 threat spender.
No, size 4 throw. That's not a 3 threat spender.
Group's costs 2, I suppose. Yeah.
Group's cost 5.
But for 1 less, Red Guardian can do it.
For
size 3, but still.
But equally, Red Guardian doesn't have the entire rest of Rogue's kit.
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct.
A spender is balanced by what else is on the card, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, hurt by the loss of Terrigen Mist.
Yep. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I don't think she has, or maybe she does have a card and it's that
She
bad.
does, and it's terrible, and we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, mind if I cut in and pardon me, sugar?
They're both awful. Don't bother
They're
reading
really
them.
not good. So with all that said, Quinn, like she's fine. She can turn up and she can do a job. She can do a job. You know, 6 stamina on the front, 6 on the back. I want to say. So 12 stamina in total with a reduction. So she can be a tanky girl, especially against physical with that 4 physical.
I think her main issue is the affiliations that she's in. She's a 4 threat in Brotherhood and Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah.
Uncanny X-Men, we don't even need to bother talking about because there's 50 million 4 threats that are probably going to have a better niche, right?
Yeah.
In Brotherhood, you're fighting Apex Predator and you're losing.
Well, fighting Apex, even fighting OG Sabertooth.
Yeah, and Brotherhood very rarely find the space for a second 4.
No, not at all. Not at all. So she just really doesn't have a home, does she, at the moment? Is that there's nothing inherently wrong with her, but she's just in need of a home.
I play her in Scott. I like her in Scott, but,
I mean, you could say that under Charles getting that turn 1 charge off.
Yeah. And she's got plenty of active abilities to then spend power on to help, later on.
Yeah. What I would say is that what she doesn't have is the ability. What I'd love, and this is why I would have liked her to have a proper throw, is that double move throw somebody off a point. That feels so rogue to be able to do that.
Just fly in and go get it. I mean, you arguably have that. It just comes in the form of 5 power.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But
which is inherently the issue, I feel.
Not a turn 1 play, unless something weird happens. So yeah, I think it's I don't think there's anything innately wrong with her. I just feel like she doesn't have a home.
I don't think that's necessarily a mark against her as a character, right? That's just,
she'd be
the current situation she's in.
She'd be great in A-Force.
She'd be great in Avengers.
She would be a great Avenger. So where do we think, Quinn?
I was thinking just below Enchantress. I think she's good. She is good. And, I say this coming from a lot of experience having played Rogue. She is still very good, despite those shortcomings that are arguably not her fault and are easily rectified by AMG releasing an affiliation.
I wasn't going to put her anywhere near that high. I was looking at Sif and Colossus.
No, she is far better than both of them. On an objective level, she is far better than both of them.
You're putting her better than Nightcrawler? Nightcrawler sees play ahead of Rogue in X-Men.
Depending on leader.
I don't think Rogue sees play at all, really.
Rogue sees play under Scott still.
I think Nightcrawler edges it out. Let's put her there for the moment, and we'll take a view. B Quinn is for
Belle of the South.
Belle of the South, y'all. Oh, Ronan the Accuser, Quinn. A character who I was adamant I had to take at WTC 2 years ago. I was told not to. I took him anyway, and he won me 2 of my 5 wins. We spoke about it a lot, Quinn, haven't we? Lowest, highest flaw of any character in the game. Why? Well, because of the Accuser. If an enemy effect would cause his character to be dazed or KO'd, it may use his superpower. It is not dazed or KO'd. After the effect is resolved, this character advances short, makes 1 attack targeting the enemy character that caused the effect, and is then dazed or KO'd. Now, unfortunately, Quinn, there's nothing in there that says if this character would heal off the back of the attack, then he is not dazed or KO'd. Because I was thinking about Venomized on Ronan at one point, but it doesn't work. But generally, what you're able to do is slap in a Kree Justice against them, 8 dice.
What a spender. What a spender.
With a stun and stagger and explosive. Universal Weapon Quinn is really good. It's a 0 cost, doesn't build, but size 4 or less, push them away short, and then if damage was dealt, they get shock. Like, really good, really good. His strike is also, I would argue, one of the better builders on this list, because a builder with a throw is very nice.
Is there any strike equivalent that beats it? Specifically, strike equivalent, not, a little dickhead beam.
I don't think so.
Like, I don't think there is either. Like, that is...
Size 4 as well, Quinn.
Size 4 is so good.
Like, 7 stamina. That is one of the things that he got as part of a change. So he's 7 on his front. I think he goes down to 6 on his back, I want to say. Oh, no, he stays 7. 14 stamina. Like,
he's beefy, lad.
He is a gem bearer. Don't fall into the trap.
Look, until AMG just actively fix the gems and make them worth playing, like, for example, making power just give all your attacks an extra die, because that would actually make it playable.
Yeah. I'm going to put Ronan Quinn in the Loki category. I think he is I think he's a very, very good character who is overlooked in a lot of situations where he can do a very, very good job.
Once again, hampered by where he is, much like Rogue, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he is he is just... Oh, no, he's Inhumans.
Inhumans as well.
And then Guardian, although I play him in Guardians, like I do like him in my Guardians roster, it mixes things up a little bit. It doesn't bring a Tactics card because, this is before the days of characters having them. I think he's really good, Quinn. I think I would say of all the characters on this list, maybe one of the most underrated. And it's funny that we had Drax as one of the most underrated in the 3 threats, and we've got Ronan, or at least in my opinion.
His box, mate. Yeah.
Like, it's a pretty underrated box. Where do you think he goes?
He's somewhere within the top 4 of B, right?
I don't know if he edges out Logan.
I think he does, man. Like, he's so good.
He is actually real good, isn't he?
Right, and he's got no competition for his name or anything like that, Nor Willie, most likely.
I do like him a lot. People might wonder why he's in there, but he just... do not underestimate I mean, even if you take away Quinn, the Accuser, it's still not a bad card. You add that in, and it just stops. He becomes a problem, right? A little bit like Rhino. It's like he's somebody you've got to deal with, but you don't really want to deal with him because he will just slap you back and do really bad things. He's really good. He's really good. B Quinn is 4.
Battle of the 5 Armies.
Yes. I like it. I like it a lot. What's the actor's name?
Lee Pace.
Yes, Pace, isn't it? Yeah. I know I said Richard Armitage then, but that's the guy that plays...
No, that's Thorin.
That's Thorin,
And also Trevor Belmont in the Netflix Castlevania.
He is indeed, yes.
And Wallen is Dracula. There you go.
Is he really?
Graham McTavish, yeah.
Oh, it is Graham McTavish, yeah.
Yeah.
Victor Creed Quinn, aka Sabertooth. This is the OG Sabertooth. This is the long move version with the clapback. I have said for a long time, Quinn, this is my preferred version of Sabertooth. I know
he's too squishy. He's too squishy, man.
Threes across the board is rough, really rough. I know he is not the better version, but he is my preferred version of Sabertooth. Again, he is in Servants of Apocalypse, and I do feel like he can do an okay job in Servants.
But I've
you
not seen him
rarely see him
that
anywhere.
particular affiliation.
Yeah, but you rarely see him anywhere. He's got a big bad version of himself that is definitely better.
The same
Quinn.
threat.
And what I would say is that yes, threes across the board is a little rough, but Gamora's threes across the board. Yes, she's got a little bit of help because she can boost her dice and things like that,
and she has stealth. But
this guy deals out a tremendous amount of damage, huge amount of damage. No Mercy is overcosted. Like, the fact that that's to a maximum of 3, it should just be 2 power and just add dice equal to.
Whoa. If you're doing 2 power, it needs to be capped at 3, or if you're doing 3, it needs to be capped at nothing.
Yeah, fair. I mean, that cap is in place because of Hulk, right?
Probably, yes.
But yeah, I like him. He's up against stiff competition, Quinn. He is somewhere in that C tier. I still play him a lot. He's affected
is he in
by
that C tier? Does he need a great deal of help?
Are you saying he does need a lot of help?
I'm saying, like, you make him 4 physical and he's fine. And that kind of change to me is, like, what the bottom of B is.
I think if that was, let's take Killmonger Usurper as an example, because I feel like there's parity here. If the other version of him didn't do the exact same thing and wasn't as good, I would say yes. But I think because Apex exists.
Yeah.
But I would be putting him sort of in this area.
I'd put him above Killmonger, to be honest.
Yeah, sort of alongside there, just because it needs just a little tweak. And Sequin is for?
A word that rhymes with runt.
Wow. Wow. Apex Predator Quinn, the other version.
The best Sabertooth.
The best Sabertooth, yeah. Extra stamina, extra defense. I would say, I think identical builder, I want to say.
Yeah.
5 dice, pierce and bleed, 5 dice, pierce and bleed. Yeah, so identical builder, but doesn't have the ability, or does have the ability to boost it. But it costs 4.
Expensive, though.
I don't think anyone's ever done that.
No. OG Crossbones.
No. I meant I don't think anyone has ever done that.
Well, I've used that ability before.
Just a power dump.
Plenty of times.
Yeah.
Well, you just power dump it and make it back from the claw slash. Like.
Yeah, fair. Bloodthirsty Onslaught, I'm going to say, is not as good as the other versions. Or
it's a
spender.
Utility spender. Right?
It is, yeah. But where he really comes into play, Quinn, is
those superpowers. Or
the first 2. Not Ratch. Catch, Runt. Choose an enemy character within 2. Throw it medium. Cool. 3 power. Great. Primal Pounce. Throw yourself medium. Collide with them. He doesn't take damage.
Your size 3.
What I really like about this, Quinn, is in one activation,
He
You
burns
can
Brace
burn
and still hurts
Brace
someone.
and still hurts. That's the key thing here. Healing factor 1 isn't the best, but when you've got 7 stamina, it's pretty good.
7 stamina and those defense stats, which
Yeah.
are pretty good.
I would say of all the characters that have healing factor, if there was a candidate who could use the new version of Exceptional, that I can't remember its name, he would probably be the one because of that stamina pool. I still don't think it's worth taking.
No.
But yeah, he's really good, Quinn. Really, really good. And also because of what he does, he can work outside his given affiliations.
Yeah.
He's actually not bad in Dracula because he brings some things there that, again, healing factor, and then the fact that he can heal himself off the back of it if he does a bleed with his claw slash. He brings throws that we don't really have access to in a Dracula list. He works really well under Steve too. He can also work under characters like an Umbaku, like a where's he gone? Murdoch.
Murdoch.
He can work in other places.
Are you the Red Skull?
Either Red Skull. Weirdly, I don't like him in Brotherhood of Mutants. I don't think he works great. But he's really good. I like him a lot. He just consistent, even though he doesn't have access to rerolls, still very consistent with what he does because he's got those access to 2 collision damage in a single activation. Also means he can get about the board a lot. Just really good, really solid. Question is, Quinn, where does he go? And I think I know which tier I would put him in, but I'm intrigued as to your
He's
your
towing
placement.
the line, isn't he? He's towing the line.
I think he does enough
I think,
as a character to get into A tier.
see, for me, the loss of Exceptional bumps him just down.
I would agree, but I'll go back and say what I said before, which is he's got, I think, one of the highest stamina pools of any healing factor character. I don't know if it's the highest, but definitely one of the highest. So that new card can work for him. But even
Doesn't
so,
change
even
the
though
fact that the new card is awful, though, does it?
I still
Just because it
think
can work doesn't make the card itself better.
I still think he does enough to get into A tier. In my head, he's either just above Loki or just below Killmonger.
I think he's just at the top of big. Like, to the point where, he is 51%, i.e. affiliated number. He's affiliated just in B.
I mean, I'm fine with that because the difference between bottom 2 and top 2 of any is minutiae anyway, right? Maybe he needs if he had a different affiliation.
Yeah,
because
like,
he is
or
only
just a
Brotherhood and
different
Weapon X.
leader within an affiliation, right?
Imagine if this version of Sabertooth was Pestilence or War.
Oh, God. I mean, equally, I don't think he needs more things to spend power on, but still.
No. And B-Quinn is for?
Birthday.
Nice. Happy birthday, Runt. Okay, Quinn. On to Sandman next. Interesting character. Brings 2 grunts with him. Quite a bit of movement because of how he can place off them. Health is a big resource for this guy. And I think that's almost one of his downfalls is that he whilst he can gain some of it back, it costs him 2 to create a construct.
Yeah.
And it costs him 3 power to then get 1 health back. And yes,
he's got a healing factor, but that doesn't make up for that really.
No.
Speaking of that healing factor, arguably the biggest loser of Exceptional going away in the entire
Yeah,
game.
really hurt him, didn't it?
Because the main issue with Sandman revolves around his grunts, right? Because, first of all, if he dazes, the grunts explode. And not
Yep.
in we do damage to everyone kind of way. It's they get dusted like Peter Parker. And the moment that happens, Sandman stops being anything close to resembling a 4 threat.
Yeah, it's also worth noting as well that whereas other grunts can score VPs, his grunts can't. They can't pick up, hold, contest, or interact with any objective tokens, which I feel like I get why, because obviously he can put 2 out. But even so, that really does hurt quite a lot. He's got some fine things, right? His builder is definitely not as good as we just went through with Ronan.
Yeah.
It's a size 2 throw, that's fine. But yeah, they did something really interesting with Sandman Quim, and
they just missed the mark, right?
It just missed the mark. It just missed the mark. I feel like if they did one of 2 things, I think if they were to have reduced the cost of creating the sand construct to 1,
yep,
and I'd also say that you could get away with his reabsorb being 2 power. I think that would bring him back in line a little bit. But
I'd like to go a slightly different direction with it.
Okay.
I would just rather than tweaking those numbers and making them perhaps look a bit more favourable, if any character was going to have damage reduction, it should be the guy made out of sand.
Yep. Yeah.
You can punch a hole clean through him and he doesn't care. He's made of sand.
Yeah. Yeah. It's or at least damage reduction against maybe not energy or something. If it's against a mystic or physical attack, reduction by 1.
Yeah,
but energy, it's not. Yeah, he's a little bit of a thing. I'd also like to see, right, because he's a size 3. I think he could have very easily not suffer damage from collisions, from character collisions as well. Or he has a bit of a reverse Wolverine. Whereas Wolverine's only size 2, but counts as 3 because of his adamantium skeleton being so heavy. This guy is a size 3, so he's harder to throw, but counts as a size 1 or something. So that because why would he stay in his solid form if he was being yeeted towards one of his mates?
The more I think about it, the more I feel like he just really hits he really misses the mark for Sandman as a character. Because I'm envisioning a world where you do something really, really interesting with the design of this character and the sand constructs. And you have it so if there are no sand constructs on the board, he's absorbed them into itself, right? He should be bigger and hit harder and do a bunch of other things, and then he can kind of slouch out and have the sand construct show up, and maybe that gives him a bit more board presence. There's so many really cool things that you could have done with him, and still have the potential to do with him based on how he was released in the models with him.
Yep.
He's one of the models that I am most begging AMG to just take another crack at.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like he just needs a little bit of, something that's just a bit more flavourful. Like, I like the idea of, like, the reabsorbing and he gets to move to where they are. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I do agree, something that is, he's a size 4, but when he puts out one construct, he goes down to a size 3.
Size 3.
And his
size
builder,
2.
his builder starts at a 6 dice, right? A 6 dice builder, but if he's got a construct out, it's a 5 dice builder. If he's got 2, it's a 4 dice builder. Maybe even, you could maybe even go even further and say, something around his defenses or something like that as well. And then maybe his constructs can score, but it's a bit like the Voodoo token thing with Dr. Voodoo, the Brother Daniel token, where yes, you can use it to put it out and there's a benefit to it, but you will deteriorate because of that. Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking, like, if you have one construct on a secure, they break ties in your favour. If you have 2 of them, they count as a healthy model or something.
Yeah, something like that could be cool. So it's not a straight up point, but...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, they're not a Hydra grunt, but, like, they have the potential to be if you're really clustering them together.
Yeah.
Right. Such a disappointment.
Yeah. With all that being said, Quinn, like, I think you can still play him. If you want to play Spider-Foes and you want to play him, I think you can play him and he can do work. I don't think he's weird because I don't know if he is down in the depths of D, because I do feel like I want a kind of rework for him, but I think he can still do okay things on the board, if that makes sense.
He can do okay things on the board unless your opponent actually understands the character. Because the moment they understand the character, he becomes worse than worthless.
So where do we think he goes then?
I think he's at D. And it's sad to say, but I think that's just where he is.
Whereabouts?
Just above Gwenpool, because Gwenpool's stupid and I don't like her.
Fair.
That's all the reasoning you're getting out of me.
All they're getting. And D Quinn is for?
Dad of the Year, because I vaguely remember him having a daughter in Spider-Man 3.
Wasn't that his whole reason for what he was doing, I think, or something? Or how...
Probably. That's
how
why
Tobey
like
Maguire reason... Is he Tobey Maguire? That's Sandman, isn't it? Yeah. Or was it Andrew Garfield? I can never remember which Spider-Man it was.
Tobey Maguire. He's one of the 20 villains in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. That was a bit of a mess, wasn't it?
Bit of a mess.
Yeah, Scarlet Spider next, Quinn, Ben Reilly. I didn't think much about this guy. You know me, Quinn. I'm not a big Spider player, really. Like, it's not... Spider people are not really my Marvel. So he'd kind of passed me by a little bit. And then I've come up against him a couple of times. And he does pretty good stuff.
Yeah. But also, he feels like a fair web warrior, right?
Very fair web warrior. Yes, absolutely. His throw is fine. He has the proportionate strength of a spider, which of all the people that should just have character and not terrain throws, spider people feel like they're the people that would have that.
Sometimes you see like Spider-Man web up bricks and like swing around into people and stuff.
Maybe. He's obviously got spider sense because, obviously wall crawler. Impact webbing is really good. Like, it's only size 2. It does need the trigger. But
if you do get it, like, your opponent is cursing your name.
It can be really horrible, yeah. He's got an elusive on the strike as well, which again is quite nice. And then he's got the catch on whatever a spider can. Web whip is interesting, Quinn. Choose an enemy character within 3 in line of sight. Push it towards this character's shot. Then place this character within 1 of the enemy character. Like, this is the kind of flavoury type things that I
Yeah.
want and expect. Like, not only am I pulling you towards me, I'm doing a little leap over you as well.
Yeah, you're doing a flip and you're ending up behind them and being like, haha.
Yeah. And for 2 power, that is exceptionally good. Like a displacement of your opponent and then a replacement of yourself. Like in terms of power and action economy, that's really, really good.
Good thing it's only once per turn, like all of the pull people off of points ability should be.
Yes, absolutely. Does
Looking
he
at
have?
you, Gwen.
Does he have? He doesn't have a
I
card.
don't think he has a card, no.
No, doesn't have a card. But I think he's solid, Quinn. I think he's absolutely solid. He's another spider as well that you can bring along that is not a Peter, which does make him and give him that little bit more playability, especially in Spider Foes, I would say. Sorry, in Web Warriors, I would say. And I think really within Web Warriors, like, he's pretty good. Like
Four Threat's a pretty relaxed place in webs as well. Like, your only competition for the most part is Jess.
Yeah, I was going to say Spider Woman. Yeah.
Venom exists, but like most webs do not run Venom.
No. I mean, let's compare him to the other 4-threat Spider-Man. And yeah, it's a little bit night and day, isn't it? Which we'll get onto in a moment. But I think he's solid, Quinn. And I think he brings enough stuff with him that if you did... I mean, I'm just going to check now where he is. He is just exclusive Web Warriors. But, you know, because of those triggers that he needs, you could see him working in a Steve 2. He brings some other stuff.
You're not about to try and argue for A, are you?
No, not at all. No.
Good Lord, I was about to have a...
No. He is... I think for me, he exemplifies, like, a perfectly balanced character. Like, I don't think there's anything on his card that I would change.
He's just fine, and that's fine. Like,
and that's okay. Like that is okay. So for me, like middle of B.
I'm thinking like just above Doc Ock.
Yeah, feels thematic as well. I don't actually know if it is thematic. Is Doc Ock one of his?
Isn't Ben
villains?
Reilly the clone?
Oh God, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's the clone.
Okay.
And I'm aware when I say the clone, there were like 50 of them. But I mean the clone that actually got to be in any other story than that one because it was a disaster.
And Bequin is for?
That's grown.
Nice.
Because he's a clone.
Sentinel Mark IV next, Quinn.
Are we doing Sentinel Mark IV 1 or Sentinel Mark IV 2?
Let's have a conversation about that. Let's talk about the first one first. I played Sentinels a little bit, and it's fair to say that as an affiliation. So 2 things. As an affiliation, Sentinels are hugely underpowered.
Are they the worst in the game?
I think they are.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they're the worst affiliation. One of the worst leaderships. Not a bad leader, but terrible leadership attached to him. These guys are not bad, okay?
Not bad doesn't mean good.
It doesn't. I like that they can boost their builder, Quinn, right? This is what Cable should have had. Suppression.
Look, Cable's in a good place, okay? You can't keep harping on about him. He's fine.
Suppression protocols is fine. 7 stamina is pretty darn good. Short move, but they're on a big base, so that's fine. Loves fighting Dracula because he's got big energy attacks and he's immune to bleed, so that's pretty good. Sentinel programming, that's fine. It's the whole extra counts against Mystic when you roll wilds, that sort of thing. Power Matrix, like, even though it's 2 power, getting 2 power at the end of your turn is so much worse than getting an extra power at the beginning of your turn in the power phase.
Well, of course it is.
Like, it's just... Because if they had that and they could do restraint cables turn 1, they'd be so much better. So I think, look, you're never going to see them outside of Sentinels. You have to play them in Sentinels for the most part. You have to play at least one.
You can have a 10 threat core without them.
True, yeah. 18 threat with Thanos. But they do, Quinn, have a very interesting thing, which is Master Mold. When building a roster or squad, a player may include 2 of this character instead of the normal 1. So I would say, Quinn, if you are going to play Sentinels as an affiliation, then you want to include a Mark IV Sentinel in there. I just think that's something you would want to do. However, I do not see in any world where you would need to include 2 of them. I think it's a huge diminishing return on having 2 of these in your squad, let alone your roster. I think it's a bit of a trap. Like, if these were 3 threats and you could take 2, it would be better, because then it would give
There's
you...
a way to represent a Sentinel in this game that...
I know.
Or like this form of Sentinel, you know, because of how big they are. Which is unfortunate.
But you know what I mean. We've already spoke about how most affiliations struggle to fit multiple 4 threats into their, usually 2 you want in your roster, and you're generally only taking 1 in your squad. To have 2 of them that are underpowered and do the exact same thing just isn't worthwhile.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, Quinn, they have had a little boost, and it comes in the form of online and operational, which, whilst it isn't technically a Sentinel Mark IV card, because it's Sentinel Prime Mark IV that plays it, you choose an injured Sentinel Mark IV within 3. It removes all damage, removes all special conditions, and flips his card to the healthy side. So it basically becomes online and operational again. It comes back as a brand new character. This used to cost 8. It now only costs 4. Now, is that bump enough to make these any better? A little bit. But it's not enough to make them viable outside of Sentinels, and even then half the time not very viable in Sentinels.
Is it a bump from D to C?
I think it probably is. I think it probably is. And I would say, Quinn, 1 of them is a C, 2 of them is a D.
And the other 2 of them is like bottom end of D, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they probably do go at that bottom end of C. I think that is where they belong. And Quinn, let me just reshuffle this so we get to see everything. C, Quinn, is for
Capture identified mutant. Beep boop.
beep boop, beep boop, beep. Shadowland Daredevil next, Quinn. The 3rd leader of Criminal Syndicate on this list alone.
The Zumba instructor of Hell's Kitchen.
Brings grunts in the form of the ninjas, assassins, hand ninjas. There we go, hand ninjas. I quite like Shadowland's Daredevil, Quinn. I like that he brings... at the time when it was just Kingpin and Shadowland's Daredevil, I liked the fact that he brought a very different type of leadership, and you could play Crimson with a different play style.
In a very different way, yeah.
And it was almost the exact opposite as Kingpin, and he still is the exact opposite of Kingpin. He's got stealth, he's got radar sensors, you would imagine. His leadership, Shadow War, when an allied character makes an attack, when an allied character attacks an enemy character holding or contesting an objective, it may reroll 1 of its attack dice. this leadership can reroll failure results. So it's a little bit like reverse Miles, but for offensive, and the kicker isn't quite as good. Because I believe the kicker for Miles isn't
Miles
just the
allows
reroll.
people that fulfill the criteria to re-roll
Yeah.
skill result to modify skill results. This only allows you to re-roll skills as a result of the leadership.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, look, I think I played with him quite a lot, but not as a leader. But when I was playing Claw, because you know me, I'm a sucker for the underdog. Hence why we've got Quinn on the now. Joking. But he does good work. His hand ninjas are really good as well. The fact that they can just off themselves and hand that token over to somebody is quite nice. I think he's good. I think he's good.
He's fine, isn't he?
Like, would you change anything on his card? No, I don't. I think he's perfectly fine.
Aside from giving him just some kind of new element to make him a bit more interesting, no?
I mean, I think he gets a little bit more interesting on his. And let's talk about this actually, Quinn, because the reverse side of his card, the injured side of his card, has something really interesting on there, and it's Demon's Devastation. So it's a range 2, 7 strength, 3 cost, mystic attack. If the hand ninjas are within 2 of the target character, you get to add 2 dice, right? So in most scenarios, it's going to be a 9 dice attack for 3 power. Really nice. There is only the beast. Cost 3. The next time Demon's Devastation attack is used this activation, it becomes area 2. This, for me, Quinn, is the single best implementation of an area attack in the game. It's really good. Really, really good. And I really like that. And I think that does that give me Shadowland Daredevil vibes? I mean, maybe when he does it, it's quite cool. You can visualize him doing the jumps and things. But I just like that they have this in here. And I think it's it's a big departure from how area attacks are implemented. We've never seen it again. And I would like to see more of this with area attacks.
See, reading it, I was overcome by an idea of something that I think would be more interesting for There Is Only the Beast. Which, this isn't a change that AMG need to make to this character. This character is fine as he is, but it's a dalliance that I find interesting, so I'll voice it. I think it'd be cooler if Demon's Devastation just flat became an area 2 and was 5 cost, but There Is Only the Beast, just let him take damage to pay for the cost of attacks. And it's just him roiding out.
That'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
And then maybe you add a heal.
A 0 cost reactive.
Zero cost reactive that when he would pay, he can take damage instead. And then maybe you give it almost a vampiric kicker on the Demon's Devastation.
Maybe if you daze or KO a character, you get to heal 1 or 2 or
if
something
you daze
like that.
or each time you daze or KO a character with this attack, you heal 2 or something.
That'd be pretty
and
cool.
he just kind of,
I like that. I think that would be very cool. So with all that, Quinn, I mean, does he have cards? I can never remember.
Yeah, but I don't think they're very good.
Not very good, are they?
No. Cruel Tutelage, I think, is the one he can do. Is that him?
Actually, the Shuriken Arashi is okay. It's a pretty good. So Shuriken Arashi, range 3, strength 10, 0 cost. Before creating this dice pool for this attack, the target character may advance short. Then, if the attacking character is benefiting from cover, it drops down to 5 dice. But obviously, you would do it in such a way that they couldn't do that. It costs 2 to play it, but it's actually not a bad attack at all. And you can measure from the hand ninjas, which again is quite nice. So, it's a card, it exists. I've thrown it in there as my 10th before. It's most definitely not stapled to him or anything like that. And it's not a good enough card that would bump him up in rankings in any way, shape or form, I don't think. Maybe if it was, he immediately makes this attack and doesn't use one of his activations, then it would have been amazing. But, yeah. So the first question is, Quinn, is he better or worse than his non-demon up-roided self?
He's nowhere near as good as the ballerina.
Dear me, can we imagine if we were having this conversation a year ago? Like it was just night and day.
I think this is, it's symbolic of the places of their different dances within society. Ballerina is like ballet is a high society thing. Zumba, it's what the mums do down the gym, innit?
Does have to murder things, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at it, Quinn, and I'm looking at him as a character, him as a leader, and I feel like, obviously nowhere near Kingpin, right? Nowhere near. But then I'm looking at MODOK, and I'm like, as a leadership, is his leadership as good as MODOK's?
I think they're kind of,
and I feel like they're almost,
another,
they're almost there or thereabouts, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then I go, well, as a character, as a whole character, including his grunts, because this version of MODOK should have had grunts. Is he a better character than MODOK? Because I feel like that's the defining difference. And again,
it's really tricky because MODOK 4 is not a bad character by any means. That's why he's middle of B.
I feel like MODOK by himself is better, but with the grunts, Daredevil kind of then pulls himself back up. And then for me, I think it comes down to, okay, well, we've done your leadership, we've done your model, it's now your tactics cards. And I think MODOK wins out on tactics cards.
Mind games.
And I think that's fine. I feel like he may... I would say they're very similar, Nick and Daredevil, in terms of what their presence on the field with the grunts and what they can do. And I do feel like Nick does it slightly better. Yeah. So I'm perfectly fine with him being there. And B Quinn is 4.
B is for I cannot see. I'm legally.
Excellent. Zheng Shang-Chi next, Quinn. I got too many ings in there and he went into the Quinn.
Yes, I am Qing Shi. Hello.
Yes. My word.
Shang-Chi's like a black belt in every martial art. I'm like a white belt in every martial art.
White being the one that when you turn up and pay the money, they give you the belt, right? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, you put the costume on and they give you the white belt. Done.
This guy is so good.
He is stupid good.
Only 5 stamina, Quinn. Only 5 stamina, but he does go up to 6 on his back, which again you would rather it be the other way around, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, first of all, let's talk about his builder. Mystic or physical, which, is quite nice. With a stagger on his builder.
Oh, stagger on a builder. Yes, please.
Rising Phoenix kick. Flat gainer. And it's going to put him within range 1. And you may be thinking, well, hang on, he doesn't have a spender. Well, he kind of does have a spender. So let's jump down a bit to 5 element fists. So his builder is effectively his spender. So, cost 1 power. When this character makes a 10,000 shape strike attack, after the attack is resolved, so important, Quinn, that it's after he's got the power for it, right? So if he builds power from the attack, he's already got the power. So if he starts on 0, he can then do this. So he can choose one of the following effects. He can float like water, which is a short advance, or he can do a 1-inch punch. Choose an enemy character within 2 and of size 3 or less, push it away short. If it contacts a terrain feature, it gains stun. Like, pretty good. Pretty damn good.
You get hit by that attack, they do the stagger on you, and then just insult to injury, they go, eh.
Meh. And then, Supreme Martial Artist is nice. He's got a charge in there. Go on, sorry.
Very important to mention. He doesn't have to push the person he hit.
No. Choose an enemy character within 2. Like, it's crazily good.
So, if you take someone down with that punch, like daze them, and then knock someone else away, you're clearing a point of 2 models with a single attack.
Yep. Yep.
Oh.
It's pretty good. As I was going to say, a charge, Quinn. But it's just bound to his 10,000 shape strike. But with the Phoenix kick, he can get about quite a bit. Now, it is worth looking at his reverse side, Quinn, because he does change quite a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So, already mentioned he goes up. Let's take a look at his now spender, which is Dim Max. Range 2, strength 10, cost 5. After the attack is resolved, this target character has the stagger special condition. It loses stagger and gains an activated token. So another character that can... Feels like activated tokens and mystic martial arts are somewhat synonymous in MCP. Yeah. He still keeps the charge, but then there's a big change on his spender after his 10,000 strikes, which is 64 infinite palms. So what he can do changes a little bit. He's still got the 1-inch punch, Quinn, but he can also cleansing strike, remove 1 damage and 1 special condition from itself, which is again a bit of survivability or indeed that displacement. He also has Wild Goose Leaves the Flock. Spend 3.
I love the names of his abilities.
I know.
They're so good.
When he's targeted by an attack within 2, he may use a superpower. After it's resolved, this character may advance short, then place the attacking character within 1 of this character. This superpower can only be used once per turn. Which again is, it's quite nice, situational. Actually, I did miss Quinn, the dragon chases its tail. When he doesn't take damage from an attack, spends 2 and he can throw them away.
Yeah.
Or just throw them short. They've got to be within range 2. But it does, again, add some survivability to him. If he, manages to not take damage from the first one, and he can throw them away. Now, Quinn, he's got all these things and all these triggers and all the stuff that he wants to do. Imagine if he had a tactics card that
let him change his dice to whatever he wanted. Yeah,
helps him out with that.
Wouldn't it?
So, Chi Mastery. When Shang-Chi makes an attack during the modify step of the attack, he may spend 3 power. Shang-Chi may change 2 results in either the attack or defense roll to any other result. So if you want your trigger, you can get your trigger. If your opponent has a trigger or whatever, you can change their dice. It's pretty good. Now, it's important to note, Quinn, isn't it, that there's going to be some timing things on here dependent on when you actually use the card, I believe, because there's going to be two timing windows as to when you can do this. So if you want to change your own dice, that's going to happen at the very beginning of the modify dice step when you would re-roll your own dice normally. if you're going to change your opponents, that's going to happen after they've modified your dice. No, after they've modified their own dice, should I say. But before they modify your dice. So different timing windows, but I mean, is this staple to Quinn, do you think, as a card?
Probably.
Feels like it is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like it is. It's pretty good. He does have another card, Quinn. Human Weapon. Costs 4. It's an active action, so it does cost an attack. He gets to make a move, so a medium move unless he's got a slow, and then do an area 2 6 dice attack that automatically gives out stun, and then on a crit wild block dishes out stagger, which is fine. That attack, that is an area attack for 4 power, would be really good. But the fact it's attached to a single use card reduces its sort of viability, really, doesn't it? I would say.
Yeah, I think so.
Where does Shang-Chi go, Quinn? Because, well, we know what tier he's in, right?
Yeah, he's not egregious enough to go into S.
No. And I'll say the one thing that keeps him, for me, out of S is his lack of stamina. He can go down, right? He has a weakness.
If he's unlucky once, he's never unlucky again because he's dead.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, like, there are a couple of things on his card that just, like, they niggle at me a little bit, like Dimmac not giving out a stagger if they don't have it.
Yep.
Like, if he had that, then I'd be,
Well, and it's those little things that are the difference between being egregious and being really good, but actually they don't need a nerf. And I don't think Shang-Chi needs a nerf at all.
But I do think he's, like, top of the top.
I think he goes straight to the top of A tier, Quinn.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, he's versatile enough as well that there are very few leaderships in the game that he does not benefit from. Or doesn't make him slightly better. He's also an Avenger. He's pretty good under Steve 1. He's also pretty good under Steve 2. He's just good all round. Quinn is for
Appa.
Appa?
Yeah.
Enlighten.
Appa is a Korean term for dad. And
okay.
Simu Liu, who plays Shang-Chi, was in a show called Kim's Convenience, which is very good. The main character in that, Mr. Kim, is called Appa by his kids.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Nice. There we go. Okay, Quinn, we've had the very good character in this box. Let's look at Shang-Chi's box partner in the form of Sable, Sylvia Sablinova.
What a terrible name.
What a terrible character, Quinn.
I mean, like, they kind of went, you know what? We've really cooked on Shang-Chi here. We don't have to bother with his box, mate, because people are going to buy him anyway. And we ended up with this thing.
So she's Crimson, she's Defender, she's Web Warriors, right? She is never getting into Web Warriors, right? Never in a million years is she getting into Web Warriors.
Let's be honest, she's never getting into any of her affiliations because she's utter dross.
But if you look at where she is and then look at what she does, right? She is long range, range 5 attacks, right? Designed to be perched. She's got a little sniper's nest thing. She's designed to be perched to be able to dish out damage. Back point holder, that sort of thing. Other than MODOK's leadership, like, is there a Crimson one that's benefiting her? Because for Daredevil, don't you need to be contesting, or is it your opponent? I can't remember. We've just done
Your opponent.
Okay, so maybe she gets that. But I mean, yeah, just not good. There's some interesting stuff on her card, Quinn.
There are some ideas. Lots of ideas, little execution.
Yeah, badly executed. I mean, the first thing is, I would say, everywhere you see her trigger being a crit, if you changed it to a hit, she would get so much better. Because a hit...
Arguably twice as good based on odds of dice.
Twice as good, yeah. I like things like want my help, pay up. When an allied character within 4 makes an attack during the pay cost step, that loses 2 power, but they get to add the dice, right? But she gains the power back, so you're spending essentially 1 power overall to get an extra die. What I'd love, imagine. Do you know what? Because by the way, I think she's going in D tier. Because she needs help, right?
She's hanging out with Elektra,
Imagine, Quinn, if want my help, pay up. I'm going to go to another game that we play, Shatterpoint.
Ooh.
Coordinated fire. Because this is very similar, right? What about if this was do this, give them an incinerate, or something like that?
What if you even just make it a bit more interesting? Like, what if it was like, you pay for it and then you roll a die, and then based on the result, they get a condition,
Yeah.
On a crit, you give them a stagger. On a wild, you give them a stun. On on a hit, you give them an incident. Make the good rolls stuff that actually would benefit someone before an attack actually is rolled, right?
Yeah. And maybe one of them is they get to add 1 dice to their attack roll or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the blank, right? The blank is but
just as a bit more of a fun thing, if you roll the fail, she just takes your money and doesn't do anything.
That'd be quite cool. Cool.
Silver Sable gains an additional power, so she takes the full 2 and does nothing for it.
Or maybe then
represent that whole mercenary thing.
Maybe then Silver Sable gets to make a short move off the back of it or something like that. Like that'd be, yeah. But yeah, she again, I love the idea of the character. Some great ideas, but far too difficult to achieve what she wants to achieve. I mean, Headshot's quite nice. Not within 3 and does not benefit from cover. If you deal damage, you increase the damage by 2. Is again it's something we've never seen before. I really like it.
Yeah.
But it's just the rest of her stuff just And also, why are all her things not range 4? Sorry, range 5. As in
right, like the pay and the shot caller.
Yeah, I feel like they could be range 5. I suppose it's range 4 to the allied character, and then the allied character is making an attack. So actually, your target is okay. Yeah, actually, I sort of take that one back. I think that's fine. She does have a card, Quinn.
I don't remember it being any good.
Sable International. During her activation, Silver Sable may spend 4 power to play this card. This round, each time Silver Sable dazes or KOs an enemy character, you score 1 VP.
I know it wasn't very good. It's somehow worse than Punisher.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot worse than Punisher because
and it's a lot of power.
It's 4 power for Blood Red and Personal, and it is only KO'd.
But it's your entire
But it's the
squad.
entire team. But she needs a lot of help, Quinn. She's going in D tier.
She really does. Yeah. I think she's hanging out with Elektra.
Yeah.
And honestly, do we care what side of Elektra she is because it's D tier and who cares?
I'm going to put Elektra above her because I think Elektra's kit is better than Silver Sable's. Elektra just can't access it, whereas Silver Sable's is just like her kit isn't good.
Yeah,
Like
that's fair.
crit wild for triggers is not
Rough.
good
Yeah.
at all. And D is for
Dos Vidania.
Dos Vidania. Nice. OG Spider-Man now, Quinn. We're not going to go through
Why
this
is
character.
he so bad? He
one
gained
of-
a stamina. Ooh.
Yeah, who cares? Like every other version of Spider-Man in this game, whether they are the same threat or less, are better. Like the 3-threat version of Peter Parker is a better Spider-Man than this version. Just not good
Yeah.
at all.
I think that there is an interesting place this character can occupy if they manage to just hit the right note of, like, you know, not early days Peter Parker, but not quite, you know, fully mastered him, like not fully come into his own, like just
Yeah, I mean,
he's awful.
what is that spender? Like taser webs. Like what? It's just not good. It's just not good. There's like this is just absolute core box 1. Like I'm gonna say that and then Zemo exists. Like how is Zemo in the same box a threat less than this guy? Doc Ock, who is a threat less, is a much better character. This one's got a long move. Not all of them do, but the long move doesn't make up for
The long move
anywhere
is
near enough.
worthless because he doesn't do anything with
When
it.
he gets there. Yeah.
Be as fast as you want. If you made a paper, you know, you hit someone like soggy paper, like
Yeah. So he's going in D. We're not going to spend time on him because any of his cards we spoke about anyway.
he is worth so little time that he's not getting an alphabet. You know,
Do you know
what?
what?
No, he's getting an alphabet.
He's going there.
Yeah.
D is for.
Dead uncle.
Wow. From one spider person to another, Quinn, Jessica Drew. She's real good.
Oh yeah.
She is real good. She's got a long move. Bioelectric strike, so a range 3 energy builder, which is really good. Before damage is dealt, for each wild in the attack roll, poison, shock, or stun is so good. It's like if it's, you know, if you're hitting a character that can hit you back, cool. You're going to get shock, or you're going to get stunned, and you're not going to make any, you know, or you're going to get stunned, and you're not going to get any of the power that you need to be able to spend to do the hit back. Intoxicating Blast, Quinn. This is where she becomes borderline egregious. After the attack is resolved, the target character drops all objective tokens it is holding. And that's a problem. It's on the list of things that we don't agree with and shouldn't be in the game on a character's card in this way, where the only sort of access
The only
to
barrier
it
is
power and an action. And this is a big problem for me. But we'll sort of get back to it. She doesn't fly, Quinn. She glides. Range 2 place for 2 power. Perfectly fine. Interrogate. Really nice implementation of Interrogate because
you saw it on Black Widow 3. Now you see it on a character that actually sees play and
good.
can use it.
Yeah. She's got martial artist, so really nice. That kind of replaces her spider senses, I would say, Quinn. But then she's also got stealth, immunity to poison, and wall crawler.
I don't think she has spider senses.
No, I was saying martial artist is kind of.
No, as in I don't think the character has spider senses.
Oh, does she not?
She wasn't bit by a spider, from what I'm aware.
Oh, okay.
No, she's just got like weird powers because I think her dad experimented on her or something.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. Like she's not like the typical got bit by a spider
Yeah.
person.
On Patrol is one of her tactics cards. This is her or Danvers. Whenever an enemy character interacts or picks up an objective token, they can advance short. Like,
Doesn't it
okay.
cost power to play?
Cost 2 power to play it. Yeah.
If it costs nothing and you could do it like, round one, brilliant.
Pretty cool.
Otherwise, worthless. Because you're paying 2 power for a card that your opponent is entirely in control of. Great.
Yeah. Double Agent. At the start of the activation phase, an allied Spider-Woman may play 2 power to play this card. Choose an enemy character. The next time the chosen character gains an activated token, remove an activated token from Spider-Woman. I love this card, Quinn.
Okay.
Not necessarily for what it does. I love it because of the decision-making process it causes your opponent to go through. Because it means that person, they can't hold, well, they can choose to hold a character back. But if you then go with Jessica Drew, well, guess what? She's going to get to, unless you daze or KO her, she's going to get to go again. And that's pretty good, especially on a character that can cause you to drop all of your objectives. And it just starts playing, it's a bit of a mind tax more than anything on your opponent. And I do quite like it. I do quite like it a lot. I like that it's unaffiliated as well.
Also, just the fact that if you do manage to get her to activate before the target, like, the power of having her go twice and just not only having her go twice, but also forcing it so you have last activation of a round, which can be Jess just wandering up to someone and going, meh, drop, mine.
Yeah.
Very strong.
She's Web Warriors. She's also in A-Force. She's also in Avengers. She's also in Hydra. And she's in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hydra.
Obviously, the Hydra S.H.I.E.L.D. thing is where the double agent thing comes from. It's really difficult, Quinn, because the only thing on her card that is egregious is that one line. After this attack is resolved, the target character drops all objective tokens it is holding. With other characters, there's usually been a few things or a couple of things stacked up.
Yeah, like Miles has got like just his entire builder. Like,
and then the picking up whatever.
The range 3 place as well, compared to a range 2 place on Jess. That she's not egregious. There is her spender is part of something we find egregious in the game.
Yeah.
But that does not make her egregious just by virtue of possessing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is fair. Whereabouts do you think she goes?
She's somewhere in A.
I feel like I'm looking at like Bishop and Rhino and sort of splitting the difference between
I was looking at either side of Dynamo. Because I think she's better than Rhino.
That is fair. She's in a lot of affiliations.
She's in a lot of affiliations. She can do so much, like just with VPs in general, with interrogate, with the drop. Like even with the double activation, that can still manipulate secures in a number of ways. Because you can just like fully shift her focus to another side of the board because she's got the speed for it.
I don't think she beats out. I think Dynamo at his best is better than Jess at her best. Dynamo at his worst is worse than Jess at her worst, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think Dynamo does still just ekes it out for me. And Aquin is for
Aphrodisiacs.
Okay.
She constantly emits pheromones that make people like her.
Oh, that must be what I have, because everyone likes me.
Yes. Don't think people like you in the way that people like Jess typically.
No, neither do I. Neither do I. It's just for my bubbly personality, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, Quinn, next up is going to be Doreen Green. I just can't get behind a superhero being called Doreen.
You're out, Doreen.
We used to have somebody who lived next door but one to us when I was growing up, and this woman would babysit for me. If my parents were with my brother in hospital.
You, not babysit for you.
No, babysit me.
Insinuates she's babysitting your children.
No, babysit me. And she was called Doreen, and she was this lovely old lady. And yeah,
Doreen did mine.
Doreen cannot be a superhero, but Squirrel Girl we're talking about here, Quinn.
Doreen put up with you as a child, and I imagine you have somehow matured with age.
Lots of words is what we can say about Squirrel Girl. The tippy token thing does the thing. You get to basically re-roll dice, isn't it? When you've got the token.
The main issue with Squirrel Girl is that she's a character entirely built around rerolls, right?
Yes.
The whole thing is rerolling dice. Unfortunately, Squirrel Girl is a 4 threat, and when you ascend those steps up into the realm of 4 threats from the realm of 3s and 2s, rerolls diminish in value if they are the only thing you are offering. If you don't have something to back them up in terms of, a damage reduction, decent dice pools to begin with, these kinds of things, they kind of fall flat in comparison to everyone else.
Yep. Now, Squirrel Girl, Quinn, is known from the comics as being one of only a handful of characters who have single-handedly defeated Thanos.
She's in the same club as Doctor Doom.
So she is fairly powerful in the comics, and she has a card in this game called Inexplicable Demise. During Squirrel Girl's activation, she may spend X to play this card. Choose an enemy character within range 2 and with a threat value of X or less. Roll a number of dice equal to the chosen character's threat value. If the roll contains one of the following combinations of results, you may apply the corresponding effect. So it starts off, Quinn, the baseline is going to be a crit. So crit is going to give them slow. Crit wild, slow and stagger. Crit wild hit, slow, stagger, root. Add a block on there, all of them plus stun. And then all of them again, plus a failure, is going to instantly KO the character. Now, first of all, to KO the character, they have to be at least 5 threat, right? Because if it's a 4 threat character, then you can't roll enough dice. And that's the only time this is really good.
And even the odds are pretty abysmal, right?
We talk about variables in this game, Quinn, don't we? And the there are multiple things that a character can do that are, some of them are RNG. In this case, down to the roll of a dice, and some of them are guaranteed. Now, things like attacks, you'll notice we talk a lot, Quinn, don't we, about an attack that has a guaranteed throw on the end of it with no prerequisites is better than attack that needs you to roll a certain dice to do the certain thing. It's just how the game works. But attacks, for the most part, are RNG in terms of whether they do damage and things like that, and that's fine. When you're looking at superpowers, so you've kind of got two halves of a card. The top half is going to be dice dependent. The bottom half, generally, not always, but generally, are going to be things that are guaranteed. I spend X and Y happens. So they're the more consistent parts of a card. Similarly with tactics cards. When you spend anything, or even if the tactics card's free, because you're always spending something on a tactics card because it takes up a slot, you generally want your tactics cards to deliver the thing that is on the card, and the thing be a guaranteed thing, right?
Yeah.
Rhino. If I know if I spend 4, you're going to drop everything that you're holding, and as long as you've not got Indomitable, I'm going to throw you as well. Now, that throw might be negated because the person carrying, that's taking the character you've targeted might have brace for impact. So they can guarantee that they can spend power and stop that throw doing any damage. So you're looking for things that are consistently going to happen and things that are guaranteed to happen. And this is not that in any way, shape or form, Quinn, is it?
No.
It's and the thing is that none of her rerolls that she's got access to or anything like that affect this card. Could this card be amazing? Absolutely. If you rolled 8 dice into Thanos and just KO'd him, that's a pretty good result for a single tactics card and 8 power or whatever it may be from a 4-threat character. I don't know the chances of doing it on 8 dice. It's small.
The answer is not good enough, right?
Yeah, it's very, very small. Squirrel Girl just doesn't work for me, Quinn, as a character. She's got the place on the but it's another. Do you know what? I didn't even realize she had this.
Oh yeah, it's stupid.
She has the beast problem. Army of squirrels, like, deal damage, bleed and stun. It's a push. It's only a 6 dice. It's range 4, I suppose, which is fine. She gets the re-rolls, but yeah, just not nowhere near Quinn as a character, right? Nowhere near. Whereabouts do you think she goes?
I think she hangs out with the box, mate.
I think she probably does, doesn't she?
They're both just subpar in so many ways that overlap and topple onto one another that it does just culminate in them being in that D tier. Like,
yep.
The only way they're going to get better is if AMG have another go at them, is the simple fact.
I think that's fair.
There's no prospect for another release helping them. And I think that is like one of the fundamental differences between D and C, right? Is fair, yeah. Is like there is, there's light at the end of the tunnel outside of just a rework.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or something else they've got access to in the game, like a gem, for example, that can bump them up.
I'd also argue that things in C tier also aren't under threat by future releases. Things in D are. Blade, for example, being one of them with Elsa Bloodstone.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. And D Quinn is for?
D is for Doreen.
Doreen. Oh, Steve Rogers, Captain America. or Boomer
Huh?
Cap.
Who? What?
He's really weird, Quinn, because before Steve
Sorry,
2,
who are you talking about?
but let me just run this by you. Like, before the Core Box 2 version of Steve Rogers came out, which was the polar opposite of Steve 1, right? He's more aggressive, he does more damage, his leadership is based around, doing damage, versus the, defensive side of the attrition play, which is Steve Rogers. This character for me, whilst I don't like him, made sense when the newest version of Steve didn't exist. Because this was a version of Steve Rogers that you could take that was more aggressive focused, right? But we have the other version of Steve. Like, they want to do the same thing. And
also, this one is so corny and shit.
yeah, I mean,
I don't like bullies.
I've knocked out tyrants over 200 times.
No, you haven't. You've not seen a table over 200 times yet, bellend.
I mean, on your left is fine. Like, 2 power for a medium move. As long as he's not holding an objective token. Like, perfectly fine. I don't like bullies. Whilst it's more dice than the OG Steve spender, the throw isn't guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like, and I know it's got a little trigger off the back of it, but
Language is just it's a pretty crap trigger. I will say, for the throw, it is medium rather than short, so it
that
does
is
have
fair.
that going for it, even though it has a trigger.
Yeah, that is fair.
I'm trying to be objective and pointing out where some things are better.
Well, and like it's stars and stripes, right? It's power equal to damage dealt. It's kind of the shield-esque type thing, but
it's what First Avenger ended up having is his shield, right? For the most part, the range 3 hybrid between strike and throw.
But the flurry doesn't need to target the original character, so you can hit 2 people. If you daze the first one, you can hit somebody else with it, but there is no move off the back end of it, so you need somebody there or to hit somebody twice. It just wasn't needed, was it? Like, there was no.
This is a character that never needed to exist. Like,
yeah. Worth pointing out,
his box never needed to exist because who was clamoring for the original Human Torch to be in the game?
Yeah.
And I know there'll be someone out there who genuinely enjoys the character, and you know what? I'm genuinely happy for you that he's in the game. But for my straw man argument, the resources spent on developing that box and those 2 characters could have been spent so much better elsewhere.
I would also say, and there are some other characters that fall into this category. In a game that doesn't have Fantastic Four or Doctor Doom, we do not need 3 versions of any character. Like, we just don't need it. He is a leader, Quinn. Now, we don't have to judge him in the same way as we do other leaders.
No, because his leadership
isn't intrinsically
tied to his character card.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, Namor is who you're using that card with. So
100%.
It's a non-factor.
I think he's fine. I mean, the other versions of Steve are not in S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't believe, are they?
No,
they're just Avengers.
They're trying to do this weird thing with S.H.I.E.L.D. where, they have actual S.H.I.E.L.D. and then they have, here's all the World War II era guys, and it's like, nobody asked for them. Once again, straw man, some people will have.
I don't think we need him as a character, but actually, his actual card, Quinn, is fine.
It's nothing to write home about, is it?
No, but there's nothing wrong with it, per se, is there?
Other than all the stupid names.
Stupid names. Now, he does obviously get bumped down, Quinn, because, I mean, actually, I don't know if we do bump him down. There is no crossover between the two Steve leaders and this Steve, because they're different affiliations, aren't they? So there's no real crossover there. I don't know if he... I don't think you have to change anything on his card. I just think he's a niche pick. And that's fine. Like, if that's what you enjoy, that's perfectly fine.
There's one thing that I think bumps him down with regard to the other Steves.
Worst model.
One, worst model. I don't like the scale bell. It's not for me. Two, by virtue of the fact that he is a Steve Rogers, he cannot be used with OG Cap. His kit is incredible with OG Cap.
Yeah.
Like, he's genuinely a really good OG Cap model. He just doesn't get to exist like that.
It's almost like he should have been a different version of Captain America.
Almost like he should have been Isaiah Bradley.
Isaiah Bradley or something like that, yeah. I still think, Quinn, in his place, in S.H.I.E.L.D., if you really want to take him, he's okay. Like,
Great.
He's just okay. I think he's... Is he hanging out in C? He's hanging out in C.
I'm going to let you put him there, but I am going to voice my objection to him being on the list. Not where he's placed, just being on the list.
I think probably somewhere around there-ish. Like, he's fine. If you want to take him, you can do. But there are better options. Something a bit more exciting now, Quinn. Sorry, are you going to refuse him an alphabet?
Sorry, who?
Wow. Sunspot next, Quinn. A bit more interesting as a character. He's got a lot of cool stuff.
Oh yeah, Sunspot, the guy that comes just after Squirrel Girl, right?
That's the one.
In the thing. Yeah, cool.
That's the one. He's got his own little economy of resources, Quinn, that he builds up, hasn't he? He is... what do they do with him? So one thing that I do like about this character, Quinn, he's New Mutants and he's New X-Force. Yes, AMG, not every good mutant needs to be in X-Men. So I do like that they did that. And I think he's got two pretty good homes in both of those. In particular, New Mutants, Quinn. I think he's very, very good in New Mutants. You managed to get many games in with him
especially because of how... Not really. I've not had a great deal of table time with New Mutants. I have played a little bit of Sunspot, and I will say that New Mutants as an affiliation and a leadership for Magic do very much play into what Sunspot wants to do, because he generates those flare tokens off the back of movements.
Yep.
Of which placing is one of.
Yep, absolutely. If he's thrown, that's classed as a movement as well.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice. Yeah, I think he's really nice. You know, I like the fact that he's got things like, and this is the kind of things I want to see, right? Sunburn. We're not going to go through his entire card. 2 power, it's an action. You advance your speed. If you've got 3 flare tokens, you advance long and gain flight, like during the advance, and then after advancing, you basically get to make an attack action, right? So it's a charge, but it's using this build-up of power that he's got, or his own quote-unquote power, to be able to do something different. And I want to see more of this, Quinn, in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's, you know, it's so much better than he gets to do a reroll. He gets to do, like, if he stood here, he gets to reroll 1. If he stood here, he gets to reroll 2.
Boring. Like,
they are. Now, I'm going to preface this.
They're good a lot of the time, but they are boring.
Yeah. I'm going to preface it, Quinn, and say I haven't had enough games with or against him to really say how good he is as a character. From what I've played against and the 1 or 2 games I've had, he did well. New Mutants, as you said, is a great spot for him. Haven't tried him in X-Force, but, you know, who knows. right now he's going into that perfectly fine, perfectly serviceable category for me.
Yeah,
Maybe he ends
he's
up
fine.
somewhere else in the future, but I think for me right now, and he's going to score bonus points, Quinn, because of a little bit of ingenuity on what's on his card, and that is gonna bump him up.
I think that's fair.
And I'm looking at his other fellow mutants and sort of saying,
That's a damn sight higher than I was expecting.
I think in New
I think he's
Mutants is
hanging out.
really,
I think he's hanging out with MODOK.
I'm
Like
okay with
he's
that.
good. He's not that good. Yeah.
I'm okay. No, but remember, bonus points for ingenuity.
Yeah. I think he was like between Nick and Doc, and then he got a little boost.
B Quinn is for.
B is for Blazing Inferno.
Blazing Inferno. Our third version,
But you have to say it like that.
Blazing
specifically.
Inferno. Our third version, Quinn, of the Black Widow. And for me, it's a toss up
And my
as to whether.
favourite.
Well, I was going to say it's a toss up as to which one's the best between the 2 threat and the 4 threat.
I don't care about best. This one's my favourite.
She's really good.
She's
She,
so good.
for me, Quinn, is one of the best characters in that new core box. I think she's
Yeah, like-
very, very good.
Like I don't own that core box, but like she would be my prime reason for getting it.
Yeah.
Like, she's so good.
Dishes out shock before damage is dealt. Dishes out stun before damage is dealt. Her finisher on the Deadly Origins is really good, especially when you can reroll any number of dice, which is quite nice. Calculated risk. You can reroll any number of defense dice, again, including failures against mystic or physical. When she drops an objective token, the controlling player gets to place it. That sounds like a little thing. It is huge. I genuinely think you could build an entire leadership around that mechanic, Quinn, and it would be pretty good. Obviously martial artist, obviously stealth. She's got access to a couple of cards. We've been through them all already because they are the same ones as
They are Natasha
as the 2
Romanoff
threat and the
cards.
3 threat. She's really good, Quinn. I really like her. She does
I
really
adore her.
well in
She's
her
so
given
good.
places, which is Air Force, Avengers, and Shield. And she's good under multiple Steves as well. Arguably, the core box version that she comes with is the better version for her.
She was kind of designed with that in mind, I feel, but also 1 power calculated risk is really good still.
Yeah, really good. Really good. So yeah, like her a lot, Quinn. Where do you think she goes in terms of who else we've got on the board?
For me, she's top 3.
Whoa! In terms of age,
She like I kind of intentionally said it that way to give you a bit of a put the old ticker in check, but
dearie me. Yeah, I agree. I
think you need a new hamster in there, mate.
I think there's about right. I think
It feels about right.
And I think the difference there is you can take the other 2 out of affiliation and they do really good work and they've got things. Like she's good, but I feel like in given affiliation she is better. You gave me an absolute like and B Quinn is for.
Better get out the defib.
Oh, Quinn.
Wait a minute, no, she can be the defib. She's got the shock baton.
She is the defib, yeah.
Look at me. I am the defib now.
Wrecking Crew next, Quinn. I'm going to hands up. I have not had a chance to play with these yet. I was actually building
Neither
them.
have I.
I was actually building them.
I'll
up.
also going to point out I have an inherent bias against them because I hate models like this.
Yep. Named
Don't
models
look into the game.
They should not be on a base with other named models. And the main reason for that, Quinn, is we do not want a
The
Warriors,
Warriors
3
3 to be a
base.
single base.
No, not at
Right.
all. Indestructible. They've kind of got the what's her name? The Inhuman lady that makes all the attacks.
Oh, Crystal. Yeah,
Crystal.
yeah.
They've got the crystal thing where they get to make an extra attack that they haven't used. Short move, big base. I think they've actually got some pretty good things, Quim. Wrecking Bar Fling is particularly interesting. So it's a builder, and then after each attack is resolved, if damage was dealt and the target character has stagger, they get to throw it away short, which is pretty. Which is, if you have a consistent way of doing stagger, if you've got Black Cat in your team and she staggers two people, and then these guys do a B4 attack into them.
It's pretty
So
cool.
look, I think they're quite interesting. I just don't know where they fit. Like they are, they're obviously Crimson, they're obviously in Cabal. They've got the bulldoze thing where they get to push themselves as
They're
well.
a halfway house between Rhino and Juggernaut.
Yeah. Pile driver, pile driver's pretty good. They can dish out their own stagger with a suplex on the pile driver, which strength 6, range 2, with a wild stagger on it is pretty good. So yeah, I mean, it's. I don't think they're bad. Like I really don't think they're bad. I just have an inherent bias towards them, because of the type of characters they are. Now, it's less so towards these, because has there ever been a comic book with Henry Camp in there by himself? Like they are synonymous with one another.
I know, like,
but it's
all
the
show up
precedent
together,
it sets.
It's the precedent it sets, and also just they could have been a mix of 2s and 3s, and I think people would have been happy.
Yeah.
Like,
or maybe even a couple of, maybe even split them up and make them 2 models, and it's one's a 2 threat, one's a 3 threat, but there's some synergy between them where if they're within range 2 of each other, they can't be pushed by enemy effects or something like that. So they were 2 separate ones, but bring them together and there's some reason why you would play them together, sort of thing.
you know what I would have liked? So you know how they're like kind of just they're the mooks, right? They're the goons that people. Everyone's used them as like hired help at some point, right? Like I I think it would have been really fun if there'd been an assortment of like 2 and 3 threat characters, and then they had a card. Also, I've summoned a spoon. The spoon is not real.
I understood that reference.
They had a card. There you go. They had a card that you could only bring if you brought all 4 of them. Right? You have to bring all 4 of them and another character that is a higher threat than them. Right? So if their highest threat among them is 3, you have to be 4 or more. And that card is a leadership card for that character.
Oh.
And you basically go, yeah, sure, we're the hired help, and you're the boss. Sure thing, boss man.
Do you know, I think that's an opportunity missed. So
like,
the
you
Wrecking
turn around,
Crew bring a leadership, but they're not the leaders.
Not for them. And it's perfectly balanced around the fact that you have to bring all 4 of these idiots to then go along with. Because the place I always remember these guys from is Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I think they're in like the first episode of that, where like Loki is like dicking about somewhere, right? And like Thor shows up, and it's they have this whole thing, and like Loki, I think Loki in some iterations enchants the crowbar.
It is an enchanted crowbar. Yeah.
Oh yeah, magic crowbar, mate. But like just having something like maybe they're all like 3 threats that are a bit underwhelming, and then if you bring that card and someone more expensive than them, they suddenly get a bit of a bump from being like kind of Z-listers to actually they can do something with the right direction.
They're pretty good together. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that would have just been a fun little thing.
I tell you
And
what,
like,
it'd have been much better than 4 characters on a single base.
I think that would have been cool, you know?
That would have been really cool. But I actually think, Quinn, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with
fine.
them
They're
as a character.
Like B-tier from what
Yeah.
I've seen of them being played.
Yeah, I think they're absolutely fine.
I think they're low B. I don't think they're particularly impressive as characters.
No, and again,
I think their power economy struggles. So, like,
they do gain an extra power,
you know,
in
let's take them
in
down,
the power
boys.
phase.
Like, in a perfect world, you're doing 3 attacks a turn with them, right?
Well, they generate an extra power. They
How
generate an
often
extra.
are they going to be? Yeah, I know. So you generate the extra one, and then you do the builder, and then you get to do the let's take them down and the other one.
Yeah,
But for a start, you need to be in range to do all of those.
that is true.
And, like, they're incredibly vulnerable to any kind of displacement.
Yeah. But again, they can spend 3 power for bulldoze, and it gets them back in, in play.
And then destroys their power economy. Yeah.
It does, but because you want to be doing those 3 attacks, really, don't you? Or you start off.
No.
You can start off with a wrecking bar fling, and it's going to generate your power, which is quite nice. Beam 4. It's
Yeah, if you get into the right place for the beam 4, like, you can sort yourself out. But
it does add dice.
I think a lot of the time, what will end up happening with them is your first action will be a move. You'll then do the beam, generate a bunch of power, and then do one of the others.
And then do one of the other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do destroy terrain as well, size 2 or smaller, and you add dice,
Makes
which
Nightcrawler
again,
sad.
that's really good early doors, because you could be doing one, how does it work? 1 die to each roll made as part of the terrain for each terrain feature. It's not, so let's say you destroy 2. All of a sudden it's a beam 6. It's pretty good. That's not bad at all. But that terrain's not going to be there the next time you make that attack. So it does have diminishing returns as well, doesn't it? I think B's about fine for them, Quinn. I'm going to put them just...
Yeah.
They get knocked down because of the fact they're 4
get up
characters on
again.
the base. Yeah.
You know, if you're going to keep them down.
And B, Quinn, is 4.
B is for based incorrectly, AMG.
Fair. Okay, Quinn, getting into the home stretch. Ultron next. Core Box 1 Ultron. We're not going to say much about this guy because there isn't really much to say. Not only has he been...
They absolutely murdered him by removing Age of Ultron to address a problem with a different Ultron.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly that. I'm going to say right now, Quinn, he is in D tier. I don't see a world where he is played.
outside of a rework, like, nah.
Yeah, completely useless. Maybe about here-ish. I don't know. He's just not... The new version of Ultron can survive without Age of Ultron. This version cannot.
But this one cannot.
No, not at all. Ursa Major, Quinn.
Whoa, he gets an alphabet.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Come
he does
on.
get an alphabet, doesn't it? And D is 4.
Deal with the... Oh, wait.
Mikhail Ursa Major, the Big Bear. Why do AMG hit animals, Quinn, in this game?
I think they just have a very staunch anti-furry policy.
Fair. Do you reckon something's happened somewhere?
You know,
And
I think Schick has some skeletons in his closet.
so there's a couple of things about the bear. I mean, he's actually got not a bad spender.
It'd be great if he could earn power to do it.
But he struggles to generate power. He's got a charge, but again, he struggles to generate power.
The bear, up until recently, could have been a C tier character,
Okay.
and then they took away no matter the cost.
Yep. No matter the
Which was
cost, really
the
hurt
only
him.
way I've ever seen him do anything even vaguely impressive is with the help of that card. That card no
Yep.
longer exists.
Yeah. As a Winter Guard player, I tried him multiple times. He does not work. Also, he's now up against Winter Soldier, who we're going to get onto, and Omega Red, both of which are
Yeah.
better than him in
Also,
affiliation.
Question, Rich.
Go on.
Why are his claws that colour? That's not the colour a bear's claws are.
Why do claws that big only do a 5 dice attack?
Why do they not do pierce? Like,
There's a
we were all so excited for the bear. And the bear has a lovely model as well. It's not one I own, mainly because of how terrible the rules are. But it, like, from what I've seen, brilliant model.
the bear. Okay, in that initial Winter Guard wave, which included Crimson Dynamo on this list, Red Guardian, who we saw in the previous one, Dark Star, who we ranked very lowly in the previous one. The bear is the worst of those original 4. And Dark Star exists.
A lot, doesn't it?
That is saying something. He needs a full rework, Quinn. Suffers very similarly to a lot of things like Werewolf by Night. Obviously, to a lesser extent, well, or a greater extent, depending on how you're looking at it, because, you know, he's a 5 and this guy's a 4, but very, very similar problems in terms of power economy, action economy. Well, the power economy feeding into his lack of action economy. You know, similar to Frank, similar things there, right? I'd rather get rid of his charge, give him a normal medium move and let him do other things. Why can't he throw people? He's a bear. Like, he goes in D tier, Quinn. And I think he is in the realms of, like, needs a full.
I think he's in a worse place than Ultron.
Yeah. Do you know what? At least Sinister was cool.
Sure.
He had some traps, but at least, like, you know, at least he had things going for him.
Yeah, a little something. And D is for dead on arrival, before you ask.
He really was, wasn't he?
Because that's what he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Quinn. Eddie Brock, aka Venom, up next. I like Venom. I really like Venom. I've liked him for a long time in this game. He does a lot of really good things. Brings a very nice tactics card. He has a clapback. He has the ability to use that clapback and then heal himself with We Are Venom. Range 3 builder with an auto bleed. Guess what, King?
Nice. Or auto bleed and no modifications, because I think that's worth mentioning in the actual attacks themselves, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So it just ups the potential damage output. Size 3 terrain or feature throw for 3 power. It's range 2 and it's medium. Like, it's fine. Like, the fact he can do both is great. Web snare. Only a character can only be pushed by the superpower once per turn. But he can do it to multiple characters. He can do it to multiple characters. I'm
booing because it's the same as Gwen, and therefore I hate it.
Oh, yeah. It works, doesn't it?
The thing that's egregious about Gwen is that any attempt to stop it just makes her spend more power. And she just moves you anyway.
Yeah.
Same thing with Venom. It's just Venom typically has better things to be doing with his life.
Yeah. And then Symbiote Instincts, when this character is attacking the defending character, cannot modify their defense dice. That is rerolls. That is cover, for example. I really like him, Quinn. He has one huge problem. Well, actually, two big problems. One of which is intrinsic of being a symbiote in this game. It's how they've chosen to depict them, which
Yeah.
is 2 energy. The other is his movement. He is so slow.
Unbelievably slow.
I think I mentioned, Quinn, that we spoke about Ultron, who we've just ranked there with Venom and Drop Off. An original 17 threat cabal. If you can imagine this, Red Skull 1, Ultron 1, Venom and Murdoch, I think it was, or it might have been Zemo, I can't remember. And it was a great list. It was really good. Drop off Venom, get him to do some attacks, get him up the board. But with all that said and done, Quinn, I still love me some Venom. Is he as good as what I want him to be? No. But do I think he needs anything changing on his card? Arguably, no. I mean, I don't know if giving him a medium move would break him. I don't feel like it would.
Yeah, like just the medium move. Honestly, I don't think a medium move changes his kit one bit. It just it's a quality of life upgrade, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, doesn't do anything crazy. He can't all of a sudden start grabbing midline extracts or something like that.
Yeah,
like give him a medium move.
It means that he's more of a threat to the midline, which I quite like. I think that would be interesting for him to have him actually threaten people that go up. But then you do. I think if he gets a medium move, web snare becomes 3, not 2.
I think that's fine. The other thing I was going to say
so
is...
he's not walking up to someone, doing a damage, pulling the medium into your entire team.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say that could replace a medium move, and I think would lean into the character a little bit more, give him aggressive.
Aggressive would make a lot of sense.
So keep him as a short move, but make him aggressive. So yes, he is going to take an entire activation to get to the midline point, but it also then means when he's being attacked outside of range 3, he can still aggressive towards and potentially be within range, depending on whether he's being pushed or something like that. I think an aggressive on him would work really well. Really well, actually.
I think if you're giving him an aggressive, you need to do something about We Are Venom. Because aggressive and then so many snacksing and We Are Venom just makes him so difficult to deal with. And not in a, I feel, healthy way. I don't know, it could be just...
I don't know, his version...
It just feels very tricky.
I mean, Lethal Protector, right? Is that what you're on about, Lethal Protector?
No, his heal off the spender.
Yeah.
With a clapback and an aggressive would be a bit egregious. And you'd need to do something to temper that, and I'm not entirely sure what it would be. What if you made it so he could only use the aggressive if he didn't use so many snacks?
I feel like that's the whole synergy thing that you want. Or you make so many snacks...
It sets him up for the second one, right? Because someone shoots him, he moves into range, shoot him again, then he eats you.
Yeah.
It's less from a flavor perspective and more from just a balance perspective, because aggressive on the back of... Like, you played Dracula, right? You play Warpath with Dracula for a reason. Because it's stupid good, right?
Yeah. And Dracula can't heal himself. Well, he does have the heal one, but rarely use it.
You just never do it. I do all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. But saying all that, I still love me some Venom Quinn.
Oh yeah, he's still great. Right.
I'd just like him to be a little bit better. But that's fine. Where do we think he goes? I think he's somewhere in that B tier, right? He's definitely the best symbiote we've got in the game.
I think so. Like, I mean, it's a low bar given the others are in C and D. I'm thinking he's like hanging about with Roberto and the Professor.
Oh, you're putting him that high up?
Oh yeah, like I think he's a solid character. Like,
I feel like there.
Yeah, that feels
feels about right. I mean, and let's not forget we spoke about Lethal Protector. Like, It is such a good card. It doesn't have all the flashy kickers off the back end of it that
But
that
it's
a lot of them
intrinsically
do.
built into him as a character, right?
But he gets to do the clap back at the back end of
Yeah.
it, which is what makes it really good. So, and Bequin is for. I mean, there's only one choice,
Blue.
right?
Blue.
Oh, that's not the right one. Bite his head off.
Oh, do you know why I said blue?
No, there's a blue
Because-
one. No, it's a red
because-
one. That's the.
Yeah, because I have a special blue Venom skin for Marvel Rivals because I was in the beta.
Go. You.
Yay!
But yeah, I do love me some Venom. Vision next, Quinn, who until this game released, I didn't know was called Victor Shade.
Did you not know?
Did not know he was called Victor Shade. Vision is of his time, I think, is a fair way.
Buddy. Let's be honest. If Dynamo was a touch worse than he is, would we just be seeing Vision in the places you see Dynamo?
There's a good chance.
Like, is it just that you're only allowed to have one person sit at the top of Beam Tower and wear the crown of
The beam. I am the Beam King.
I wear the beam crown of Beamage. All hail.
Yeah, I would love to see that sap disappear from his beam and it be stun or something else that
Just making Dynamo 2.0, and I don't think that's a thing we want. Because Dynamo, despite not being egregious, is still oppressive when you play against him.
fair.
Like,
2 power for calculated trajectory is very nice.
so good. His power economy is incredible.
It's crazy good. Crazy good. He just, like, I played a lot of Vision.
As
in
did I,
Brotherhood.
and we both played him in the same place. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, you know, he can start the chain. He was then replaced with the dog for me, but he was still in there.
Yeah.
He was always in there.
I took him because I found it fun to have him and Wanda just hanging out.
Well, I mean, that's the other reason, right? They should have a team up card. They should have a husband and wife type team up card,
Yeah.
which would be really good, actually. But yeah, he just, there is nothing wrong with Vision. You put him into most places and he's going to do a perfectly fine job. The problem is he's outshone by newer models that do what he does, just better.
Yeah, and I think, he's just become a character without a niche anymore, right?
Yeah,
Because it used to be that he was the Beam character, and you saw him all over the place because he was the Beam character. Now there are, as you said, a number of characters that fulfill that role anyway. And now he doesn't have anything that's like his thing. He's got the phasing, but it can be very good, or it can be worthless. You know.
yeah. I mean, it essentially makes him a 5/5/4, doesn't it? If you've got the power to be able to do it.
Yeah, which is easier said than done. I'm just trying to think like what you could give him to make him just give him a bit of pizzazz, you know? Really struggling to come up with something.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like if his beam did like Root.
Root would be cool. Root would be really
fit
good.
him as a character, right?
I also feel like Synthezoid Avenger is a bit of a, again, 374 is expensive, but you temper that with the fact that he generates all the power in the world. I mean, does he really need synthesis? Is that a thing he needs?
Probably
Could
not.
that be
I'd like to
changed?
see a placement on Synthezoid Avenger as well, like he's phased through them.
Yeah.
Because that's cool.
Yeah, a bit like a Kitty Pryde type thing.
Yeah, like Kitty Pryde. Like maybe that's what you do. You kind of bring him more in line with how Kitty works, and whenever he gets attacked, he gets like a little jump somewhere because he's like he's phasing,
Yeah.
and that is the universal like sign for phasing.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, everyone knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, there's nothing bad about Vision. He's just being left behind, hasn't he? So, in his day, he was peak four threats. He was everywhere, wasn't he? And now, like you say, Dynamo does not everything that he does, but Dynamo does it and does it better. You want the throws? Well, guess what? Bill exists. Bill does it and does it better. Like he's just been left behind a little bit,
Yeah.
and I would like to see a little tweak because I like me some Vision. I've got a lot of love
Once
for
again,
him.
like we'd like to see a tweak to him. He's fallen by the wayside. He's still good, and he's still
yeah.
going to be like mid to high B in my mind. Like he's still fine.
Yeah.
I think he goes a bit higher than Venom.
Where are you playing Vision?
Where are you playing him?
Well, that's the thing. Like,
Well, I'm
where?
not playing him anywhere, but
Because he's only an Avenger.
he's only an Avenger, and like he works fine under all of the Avengers leaders.
Yeah. Oh my word! By the way, one power calculator trajectory is filthy. By the way.
Yeah. Oh, one power. What's it called? Rapid phase.
Rapid phase.
One
as
power
well.
rapid phase, just bouncing between them and going, no. So
Yeah.
good.
He's so good under Steve 1. Maybe I need to go look at Steve 1 again and see. Maybe that's what I do. Maybe I revisit some of my old lists. Maybe I try Magneto again. Nobody's playing Magneto.
Rich, do you remember what happened the last time you played Avengers? Do I need to remind you?
Yeah, good point. Good point. I've never been an Avengers player, have I?
I don't think I've ever seen you play a worse game of MCP than that game against Ron. Like, good God.
Yeah, I feel like... Yeah. Like, is he better than Sunspot? I don't know.
I like him more than Sunspot, but is he better? You know what? I'd actually say he is better. Because Sunspot, I believe, can't throw people.
2 power for calculated trajectory is so good, isn't it?
I know. They've both got a throw that is 2 cost. Sometimes Sunspot won't be able to throw a person of the same size that Vision can, but it's iffy. Like, I think attack-wise, Vision's better because a beam is just straight better than, like, a normal thing that you can potentially give an incinerate to.
I tell you what. Would Vision be a good new mutant? Lining up those beams with the with the movement thing. Don't know.
But equally, wouldn't Dynamo just be better?
Yeah, that's the problem. And that's the problem, right? Is that anywhere you would put Vision,
you can just put Dynamo.
Yeah. 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 I mean, actually, rapid phasing should not be underestimated. Being what is effectively a 5-5-4 character is huge, right? And it's as long as you're in the right stance, there's no way of it being stopped because it's innate. Obviously, you can't rapid phase against certain characters like Emma or what's her name, Mystique, things like that. But outside of that, it's still bloody good. And B is
with
for
Emma, it doesn't really matter because she's a mystic attacker.
Yeah.
B is for beam.
He's the OB. You know, like you get the OG. He's the OB. He's the original Beam.
Oh, I thought you were like calling him overweight.
No, I'd never do that. I mean, Vision is probably quite heavy, I imagine, right? He's made of
Depends on
some.
it.
Well,
no, he can phase himself out of existence, can't he?
But he can also make himself very dense and very heavy. It's like me before and after Christmas. On the build-up, I get denser and heavier. Our penultimate character, Quinn, Winter Soldier Operative James Bucky Barnes. And let's just say it, best version of Bucky in this game. Because the other version has
low bar
taken a bit of a tumble. There's a couple of things about this character, Quinn, that I really, really like. So I was worried at first that he was going to struggle with power generation. But in the right setup, that doesn't become a problem, and we'll get onto that in a moment why it is. His Spec Ops rifle is perfectly fine. Would I like something better than suppressive? Yes. But it's perfectly fine. And it is for each wild in the roll. So again, you get a good roll, and you're going to take a lot of power off them. Concussion grenade's really nice. Red Agent, it's a really good attack. Hit and run is a charge better. Mostly always yes, but it's fine. Killbox is really nice. It catches people out, especially because he's got a range 3 stealth. And then he's got the weird range 1 Spetsnaz training, which we already spoke about on the other one, Quinn. Should be range 2, right? Should be range 2. So I think Bucky Quinn by himself is fine. But for me, there's only 3 places I want to play Bucky. And that's Cabal, Crimson, and Hydra. That's because of Soldat activated. Really good card. When another character with an active leadership is within 2 of this character and they're targeted by an attack, they get cover. And then after the attack is resolved, Bucky can spend 2 and make a 0-cost attack against them.
It's so good.
And then at the start of Bucky's turn, if he's within 2 of the active leader, he removes the damage and gains a power. He basically just walks around, acts as whoever your leader's shadow, and does a whole bunch of cool stuff. I really like this version of Bucky Quinn. He does do a lot of work, especially when he has that Soldat Activator card. I wish Winterguard got that card. I'm really not sure why they... Like, the Russians who made him don't get access to it.
Well, no, because Winterguard are kind of good guys, right? It's the bad guys that get the card.
Are they? I mean, AMG didn't think so because they pushed back their release.
Well, yeah, we're talking about Earth 616, not Earth whatever R1 is.
True. Either way, I think he's really good. I really like him. He's the best version of Bucky. For me, Quinn, he's in and around that top mid, as in the top of mid of B tier.
Top mid gaming, yeah.
Top mid gaming, yeah. But like, the sort of higher end of the mid of B tier. I'm not saying he's in the realms of Apex or Steve Wood or anything like that, but
he's like Psylocke to Medusa, right?
That's what I'm thinking, right? Is that maybe either side of Enchantress, something like that.
I think he might split the difference between Psylocke and Gamora for me.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Like,
I think especially when you add that card in. Yeah, when you add that card in. And weirdly, he's not part of all of those affiliates. So the one that you need to be wary of is Crimson. So he is not Crimson affiliated, but
has the card for Crimson.
Yeah. But has the card for Crimson. Maybe it'd be nice if that card did make him affiliated as well, but hey ho. Okay, Quinn. B is for?
B is for. Is it Boxcar?
What are we thinking?
Boxcar. It's for the list.
Oh,
It's
is
like
it on the
Longing,
list? Yeah.
Rust, Freight Train, Boxcar, something like that. I think it's Boxcar.
It might very well be, yeah. Or in failing that, best friend of Steve. Screw you, Sam.
Wow.
Okay, Quinn. It seems like AMG always manage even to alphabetically give us a good character to end on. We've had Wong in the 2 threats. We had X-23 in the 3 threats. And now we've got the much improved Wolverine for us in the 4 threats. And he's much improved, Quinn, because not only did he obviously get a glow up with the card a little while back, he's found a new affiliation that he quite likes murdering things in. Servant of Apocalypse. So another character, Quinn, that is now Avengers, Defenders, Apocalypse, X-Men, and X-Force. So one of only a couple now that have 5 affiliations that he can be part of. Wolverine, James Logan Howlett. He's the best at what he does now, Quinn, isn't he?
And what he does
isn't very nice. Now we have to address the tactics card in the room, which is the loss of exceptional healing. It has hurt this version of Wolverine as well, as it's hurt every character that has exceptional. This version does have 7 stamina, Quinn, so it does, it is a little bit easier to get around. Where I think it really hurts Logan is on his flipped side.
I mean, less so than before, right? Because he used to be 7'5", and he got
He did
a
used to
bump,
be 7'5", yeah.
which I think helps him a lot. It makes him, rather than being average across the board for a 4 threat, it still puts him into that, that zone of he's actually got a lot more stamina than your average 4. Even when you're not accounting for your healing factors, which you should be, like, he's already at a baseline 1 higher than most 4s. And it just goes up from there, right?
Yep. Yeah. No, I think he's obviously much better than he was. So, I mean, it is... Is there a character in the game, Quinn? Maybe there's one on this list. But for me, there's this one and another character whose glow up has been so big in that they've gone from the absolute depths to not the very top, but in the upper echelons, let's say. And the other one I can think of is...
I'm now looking through everyone. No, I want to guess. I'm looking through them and I want to guess. Right. I don't think it's Steve, because Steve had a massive glow up, but was still viable, though sad. Who else? Who else had a glow up? I'd argue that even though he's C tier, Goblin's glow up was massive compared to what he was, which just goes to show how abysmal he was.
But I would also say Goblin's only C tier because Doc Ock exists, right? The new version of Doc Ock.
But Arch Nemesis and a couple other things are a bit wonky about him as well. Yeah.
No, I was going to say...
Like, were you just thinking Steve?
No, not Steve at all. I was going to say...
okay.
OG Peter Parker, that 1 extra stamina has boosted... No, I'm joking. Daredevil.
Oh, right, yeah, of course. Oh.
No, Daredevil.
To be honest, I forgot Daredevil had a glow up. I kind of just forgot he existed before this iteration of him, because he was bad.
So bad. Like, so bad. And it's slightly different because they gave Daredevil a leadership, which changes the dynamic of a character completely, doesn't it? Although technically they have given Wolverine a leadership as well for an affiliation that he's not in, which is which is just hilarious.
Well, you know, he turns around to AMG and he asks them, "Are you sure you want to remember that I'm not in this affiliation?"
Yeah. I know, Quinn, both me and you have been a big fan of Wolverine since his updates. But again, he's got a couple of things against him. I would say of the tactics card changes, other than a character that had there's maybe only other one character in the game, I would say, that was impacted as much as Logan was with the tactics card changes, other than a named card that was taken off them. And I think Bill losing eyes was huge because Bill, you know, and then obviously characters that lost named cards are big, but the double whammy of healing factor and no matter the cost.
And no matter the cost.
Exceptional healing and no matter the cost was huge for Wolverine. Now with that, the other side is he also got a new home, and a new home that he's quite happy in.
If you want to play Killy Apocalypse, you're taking him.
Yeah. And I do like him in Apocalypse. I think he's very good. Very nice. But I don't think, Quinn, he is now, because I think you used him quite a lot, right? Like I played him under New Steve as well. He was very good under New Steve. He was very good under Old Steve.
I played him a lot under Scott.
Under Scott, getting that extra power into him was really good. I just don't know. I don't know with two things right now. First of all, with where the meta is of Asgard, of BLT, how that affects Logan. But also, the loss of those two cards was huge for him.
Now that I'm thinking about it, the whole BLT thing, would it have been partially solved by having Exceptional still exist?
Yes.
Because suddenly, turn 2, going, oh, I do 2 giant attacks. You can turn around and go, no. And not just you, but a myriad of affiliations and characters having access to people that use that card. Just going, no.
The answer is yes.
Like, would that have fixed it? Like, I understand why it had to go, because they brought out all those characters that have healing factor, but also.
So I would say it would have meant there was a more readily accessible solution to the problem. I don't know if it fixes the problem.
Yeah.
But, you know, I see all games as
the tide, right?
Yeah, you know, it's one giant game of rock, paper, scissors, right? Rock beats paper, paper beats rock, but scissors can't beat, you know, it's that's the way it works. But unfortunately, you've got a hammer in the middle of that just hits all of them at the moment and breaks them all. And maybe Exceptional was one of the things that could do it. Because right now, the only people who can do that are Asgard, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
Where do you think, Quinn? The last placement in this marathon of 12 hours worth of videos almost, or at least probably 15 hours worth of recordings and maybe 9 hours of actual footage.
Right, so let me go. 15 hours. What's minimum wage?
It's one Malteser.
Right.
So what I would say is I don't think he is in A tier anymore. The loss of No Matter and the loss of Exceptional. So I want to ask you, I'm going to ask you two questions.
Is he hanging out? Okay.
is he better than? And I'm not going to mark him down because there's two named characters in here. We spoke about this. I think they have different places. They're in different affiliations, and even their affiliation that they're in together, they sit under different leaders. So we're not marking him down for it. But is he better or worse than his counterpart with a cool, funny hat?
1, mine doesn't have a funny hat. 2, I prefer Wolverine over Logan.
Okay.
3, I think Wolverine is better than Logan.
And I agree with you on all but one point there.
Which is the funny hat.
I've got a funny hat on mine. Yeah, I've got a funny hat on mine.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So then we're getting into characters like Ronan, Black Widow, a couple of pretty good leaders. I think we're in agreement that he's not as good as Apex. Like,
I think he is just beneath Apex, personally.
Oh, you think he's that high?
I think so. Like, rip and tear, man. Rip and tear.
Even with no matter the cost going on top of exceptional.
I never used no matter the cost with him, so I don't care.
I suppose the way that you played him, you funneled the power into
Yeah.
him that he needed anyway to be able to do it.
It's a thing that affected a lot of people. I just wasn't one of them, so I don't really feel
Yeah.
the impact of it. But I understand that there was an impact.
I played a lot of Wolverine. I even had him in my winter guard at one point because he was just stupid. Oh, and also, by the way, he can just remove all the conditions, which was nice. Yeah, I think I'm fine with it. I think I am fine with it. Let's address the elephant in the room, Quinn. Sorry, I do apologize. And B is for?
B is for Bub.
I'll allow it. You might have had it for the other one as well.
I like that as the little, ending to the alphabet, just Bub.
Bub.
We've had some complex ones, we've had some terrible ones.
We've had some great ones, Quinn, and I've appreciated them, and I hope everyone
I think
at home
my
has as
favourite
well.
was I Cannot See I'm Legally.
Yeah. Not a single S tier in the 4 threats. Now, somebody did say, well, if there isn't an S tier, then maybe your ranking is off. Maybe everybody that is in A tier should be an S tier and B tier should be A tier. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, no, because we've defined what S tier is. And whilst there are definitely, I would say, Quinn, candidates for somebody that you could call egregious, I feel like we've talked them all down in our own heads, and I just don't think there's anybody that needs to be in that part of the list. I don't know about you, Quinn. Were you surprised that we haven't put anybody in there?
No, because I think the most recent balance pass and the tactic card rework and removal of certain, they were mostly geared towards 4 threats in my mind, and I think because of that, AMG have done they've done a job of cutting the head off the snake, but the snake still doesn't have legs. You've cut the head off it, but it's still not got legs. You've not quite brought full equilibrium.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. And I think no surprise that Shang-Chi is up there at the moment, at the top of the pack. He's just very, very good, isn't he? Like, so good. So good. Also a really nice model as well. Quinn, any last-minute changes you want to make to the list? I mean, it's almost hard to look at now, isn't it? Because there's that many on there.
There's a lot of colours, isn't there?
There's a lot of colours. Yeah, a hell of a lot of colours. I feel like everything...
Part of me wants Sandman to be lower because of how desperately I want that cool rework, but also it's not fair to him as a character and the purpose of the list. think it's fine.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. And I think what we've tried to do with these is not just go X is good because of B, therefore S, or, they are bad because of Y, therefore D. And hopefully we've given you a couple of, little things to think about as well. Like,
Bit of food for thought.
maybe Loki is somebody you can slip back into one of your lists and have some fun with. Maybe, the next time you're playing Guardians against a, heavy attrition list. I mean, do you know what? I tell you who's a great answer to Asgard is Ronan. Like, he does not mind being slapped about and getting to slap them back. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it, guys. Like I say, they've been a long time, and thank you to Quinn for sitting and going through these as well. 5 threats are going to be much easier, Quinn, because there's a lot less of them. Maybe even a single video. Who knows? But then the problem is there's more to talk about. So who knows? Who knows? We are going to leave it for there, guys. As I say, I hope you've enjoyed these videos. And to be fair, Quinn, I don't know about you, but it has made me, as we've gone through each character in turn, I've gone, I forgot that they did that. Oh, yeah. Maybe I could put them there, or maybe this will work here. And I've had some fun. I've had some fun doing these, so hopefully everybody at home has as well. But yeah, guys, if you want to, first of all, I want to give a big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters and YouTube members. They just make the running of the channel that much easier. And if you want to support us, you can do so from as little as £1 a month. Join button, link in the description, usual stuff. But as always, you don't need to do either of those things. Just simply liking, commenting, subscribing. Ring the notification bell.
YouTube.
Do YouTuber things. It really does help. So any of those things are really appreciated. A big shout out to Leo Disc Games, the sponsor of the channel. There'll be an offer down in the description below as well. Check out the Discord. It's where we run all of our events. Our November event is coming to an end. We've got 1 round left, I believe. So that'll be ending, and then we'll be starting a new one probably in January. So if you're a part of that, go and check that out. And as always, guys, it leaves me just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.
Nerf Web Warriors.
Excellent.